attacks, but he's really not doing that much unless he's rooting you, unless he's keeping you locked away. So by having that Frostburn, they can make sure they're dictating the pace of the fight and stop Team Secret being able to disengage and re-engage as they like.
You know, one thing that you've got to keep in mind is that Team Secret, this is a team with an incredibly deep hero pool. You could call it a hero ocean, right? But something to pay attention to is the fact that Kvalifar hasn't played Lance at all this championship. He played him maybe once or twice, I think, during the spring championship. And he hasn't played him at all during the main season. So how practiced can he realistically be on Lance, in addition to all the practice that he's putting in on many of the other heroes that Team Secret are want to pull out? I feel like the impales that he's missing are not ones that necessarily need to be missed. Yes, there's some good dodging coming out of Snow Avalanche, but I have to wonder, is he picking this up, you know, appropriately with enough practice put in? I think that what the comp does and the way that they're playing it is great, but you've got to be able to execute.
That you have. And at the moment, Team Secret not able to execute that game plan. We saw how quickly they went through picks and bans as well. They knew exactly what they wanted to play into Snow Avalanche, but the Avalanche has started rolling down that mountain, and maybe Team Secret will be dethroned, as Tasty Bacon said earlier on. They are looking for their Grand Slam. Of course, they will have won 4 splits in a row: winter, spring, summer, autumn as well. Well, yeah, they won the first autumn. Winter is coming for them at the moment because Snow Avalanche are looking for the fight. Kvalifar has to try and dodge away, uses that roll to get himself away towards safety, and Snow Avalanche decide they don't want to engage just quite yet.
Have a look at the cooldowns on Mowgli's abilities real quick. You saw about a 10-second cooldown on Imperial Sigil there, in addition to quite a significant 16 seconds on Bright Bulwark. There's a big window of opportunity for Snow Avalanche to engage whenever those are off cooldown, and they were clearly thinking about it, but Team Secret's being smart. They're sitting near their turret. They know that they've kind of conceded too much of an advantage early on, and they're playing around that nicely. I like the fact that Avalanche is getting vision deeply in Team Secret's jungle. I think this is going to stop Team Secret from their easiest avenue back into the game, which is finding a catch. But the question remains, like, what's Team Secret's avenue back here, right? Like, what's the silver lining? I think it needs to be Mowgli getting his own vision down, sort of at a shallow level in their jungle, and just trying to find a lot of burst onto one target, probably Basher Contusik.
That's exactly what they'll be looking for. Look at the level disadvantage, though, as well for Kvalifar. He's level 8, about to ping level 9. Voldemar's already halfway to level 11. That is a huge lead and experience for the Scarf over the Lance. And Team Secret not quite able to engage. We haven't seen them in this position for a long time. It's been so long since they've been properly behind in a game, you know? Even against Mouse yesterday, it was pretty even games.
Last time I remember seeing Team Secret struggle like this was actually against Gangstar Cerberus in the Evil 8. They were able, in one of the 2 games where they struggled, because they actually struggled in 2 games in the series, to come back from a ridiculous deficit. So I know for a fact that Team Secret are capable of doing so. Sometimes the fights just line up in a way for them to just make the outplays. I want to talk about Avalanche a little bit more, though, real quick, and build specifically. Eve of Harvest on Waldemar now is going to really allow for him to deal with Palmatoro when Palmatoro tries to get on the back line, which is already hard, right? We've already talked about that. Getting through Reverse of Judgment, getting through Glaive and his Afterburns can be challenging, but when you've got an Eve of Harvest on Waldemar too, it becomes even worse. I also think it's notable that Bash went for early War Treads this game, before he even, I believe, picked up his own reflex block. He doesn't mind if Kvalifar jumps on top of him, because Waldemar's so far ahead that he can deal good damage already. So he didn't need the reflex block. What he needed was War Treads to boost Waldemar into a position where he could win the fight, even if it meant trading his own life.
Yes, definitely. It's what you talked about. Snow Avalanche looking for the engages, and if they can kite back out of an Imperial Sigil and Bright Bulwark and then re-engage with the War Treads, it can be incredibly powerful. Looking at item spikes across the board as well, there's 3 full Crystal Power items on Voldemar, only 2 on Palmatoro.
Yeah, and actually, I do want to talk a little bit more about items, although we might have a fight kicking off here.
Quite possibly. Kensick's looking for the engage here. Cooldowns have been used by Team Secret. Palmatoro's going to jump in on towards Bash and Voldemar off towards the side, gets stunned up. Mowgli doing a huge amount of work up towards the backline. Dragon's Breath will come through along with the fountain, and they manage to survive. Snow Avalanche with minimal health bars are going to clean up Team Secret here. Kvalifar trying to roll his way away, but all he's doing is rolling down the hill alongside the Avalanche that sweeps him off his feet.
Man, that was some discipline on the fountain out of Bash. He held that so long. I also want to touch on, and I'll bring it up actually when it comes up, Kvalifar did a little bit of a weird Githian wall in a second here. You see Palmatoro doing a lot of damage on the back lines, but he's not quite able to finish up Waldemar. And here, this Githian wall, right? that Githyan wall was the opportunity for Palmatoro to say, okay, the fight's over.
Yeah,
We're too far behind. They've been knocked away from me. I can leave and stop the ace. He didn't do that. So in any case, Snow Avalanche, make it happen. I wanted, before that fight, to touch on Kentusik's build real quick. The Tornado Trigger is an interesting item for me.
Definitely.
I feel like if he'd been able to pick this up maybe 3 or 4 minutes earlier, I would have really liked it. As it stands, it was a bit questionable, but he did make it work. Similarly questionable, the Tension Bow coming out at 15.5 minutes. That said, if they want to burst a target down, it is going to add to their reach just a little bit.
At the moment, the only real problem is Palmatoro if he survives for the duration of a fight. We saw in that last fight, you know, Voldemar, if he gets the Dragon's Breath off, Eve is going to heal him a huge amount through that alongside the Fountain, and the Fountain control from Bastion was absolutely on point. I think being able to jump onto that Sky with Afterburn, knock him back, and then just get 2 or 3 auto attacks down to take him out is exactly what this Kentusik build is trying to do.
Talking about builds again, Palmatoro is 1 full item behind Waldemar right now. And as a Sky into a Scarf, that's a very bad situation to be into. I maintain that Palmatoro in the late game can win these 1 versus 1 situations, can make the outplays, because Sky is a hero that is good at that. But I'm not sure Team Secret is going to get there if Avalanche keep applying the amount of pressure that they have been. You've got to remember as well, Lance kind of falls off later, especially when you build a Tension Bow. Kentusik maybe disagreeing with that statement to a certain extent, but actually Snow Avalanche, they're able to start off the Kraken right now. Team Secret are going to be hard-pressed to challenge.
There's only flares on Kavalifar. This might actually just be the Kraken going across towards Snow Avalanche. They haven't got vision on it. Kraken's going to fall very, very quickly to that Scarf, and they will take it down. The base already broken, of course, for Team Secret. Only those crystal turrets remain for them. And the question now comes up, are they going to lose their first game in this best of 5?
It's looking incredibly likely, but as I said, Team Secret has had some pretty crazy comebacks before. Maybe they can do it again. Kavalifar sitting in the TSM special bush, but I think with Mowgli's movement there, he kind of gave away
I wonder if someone might be in this bush,
position.
guys.
Yeah, that was a little bit dicey from Mowgli. If they wanted to go for it, I would have just held back and then portaled in after Kavalifar went to be engaged.
Here comes Mowgli into the fight. They're going to jump in Kavalifar as well. Death from above comes down, but here's the burst. Mowgli's dead, and already 1 Team Secret member's fallen. The second will go down as Kavalifar gets chased off towards the side. It's up to Palmatoro, a 1v3 outplay. You talked about the 1v1. Well, let's see the 1v3. Palmatoro cannot do it. Snow Avalanche take the ace. The Kraken pushes the base, and it's going to be 1-0 for Team Snow over Team Secret here in this best of 5. I'm pretty sure that's the first time I've seen Team Secret lose the first game of a live championships final.
You know what the most interesting part of that loss to me is that I don't feel like it was draft related. And I feel like Team Secret has lost in the draft a few times. Like, for example, one of their games against Mousesports that they lost during the regular season, they picked triple melee and got crushed by range, right? So occasionally they lose in draft. This game, they did not lose in draft, as far as I'm concerned at least. I feel like they actually lost from misplays. And maybe there's something to be said for nerves on Team Secret's side. Every time you win a championship, the next one becomes even more incredible to win, and that puts a lot of pressure on you. This could be their 4th, or it could be the end of their streak.
Quite possibly. It's a very difficult situation now for Team Secret trying to get back into the action. We're going to hand it over to our analyst desk to break down Game 1, but we'll be right back with Game 2.
Well, I think I figured it out, guys. Waldemar let down his hair.
I'm not sure if that's quite the difference maker there, but it does seem like Team Secret maybe has an issue with this Scarf. I mean, Mousesports ran it against them twice. It had 1 win and 1 very, very close game. Now Snow Avalanche runs it, picks up a victory. I mean, they didn't just win. They dominated that match.
Yeah, the match wasn't really even close at all. And I have to definitely question the draft, maybe for the first time coming out of Team Secret here.
Dun,
they,
dun, dun.
dun, dun. I mean, you get the Lance, right? Lance is great. We love Lance. He can go in a bunch of different positions.
You love Lance.
Yeah, Bacon has his own.
Collectively.
Yeah.
But then you also get the Lyra, right? So you've got a couple of flex picks potential on your team. Lyra and Lance can both either go into a carry or roam position. When you pick up the Skye, you definitely have a strong front line with the Lance, but it's very risky because Scarf, they didn't have a way to stun him out of his ultimate other than hopefully getting like a Githian wall or something like that.
Or a death from above.
Or death from above.
But
it's,
neither of those are reliable.
Skill shot stuns are not the most reliable, right? But the biggest issue is that Lance in lane. Lance is not a late game scaling hero. He is an early game pressure hero. And unless you absolutely stomp them all early game, you're not going to be able to really take off. Like we saw that this Lance didn't have anything more than a tension bow and a sorrow blade in the late game. And when you're going up against someone like a Scarf, you're going to have a lot of problems there. Not to mention the farm for Lance was very underwhelming. We're talking about 90 CS at like 12 minutes in the game. Like just a lot of struggles coming out of that position. I don't like Lance lane for the Team Secret matchup.
Yeah, this is something that Kvalifar had run once before, but like AJ was saying during the cast, it was during the spring championships. That was 3 months ago, was the last time that we've seen this Lance being played competitively in the lane. So it definitely did not look comfortable. There was a lot of missed impales that happened, as Fuji alluded to. That's the risk of that Lance. You miss one of those impales and you just give so much over, especially to someone like a Scarf who says, oh, cool, you're standing still. I will gladly throw a Spitfire and put a goop underneath your feet. And it just melted through him so many times.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other takeaway from this is that you just really didn't have anyone to be able to get onto the back line of Scarf either. If you were to see Skye Suri strike over, what a dangerous place for her to be. And Lance not really being able to get into any of those positionings. Too many impales missed early game. If we rewound and impales were landed consistently, and when I mean that, I mean like 9 out of 10 times, they might have had an opportunity to try to close the game out. But can't make that many mistakes in the finals.
I'm still going with Waldemar's hair. Look at it. It's amazing. That's what I wanted to see all weekend. But you guys are right. I love Lance. I love Glaive. You guys follow the Evo 8 or NA or anything. I'm always talking about these guys. But so to see them split up really did come down to their performance. And you got to say that Snow definitely gave it 110% right there. Game number 2 is just setting up here momentarily, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be well on its way. But what lessons would you personally use to go into this next draft here, Fuji? Because draft, you said it. This might be the first time you actually questioned a secret draft.
If I was Team Secret, I would ban Scarf, just straight up.
Yeah,
like your hero pool is large enough to where you don't really have to worry about them picking something that you can't deal with later. And Scarf is the closest thing to the Achilles heel for this Team Secret team. So we do go into the draft. They don't listen to the advice, but that's okay. They got styles on their own. They've gotten here on their own without my help. So Team Secret does ban out the Lyra, which means that Snow Avalanche is going to have a number of options, whether they prioritize not a throwaway pick, but maybe a non-popular pick so they can get some more priorities for themselves, or maybe they just get rid of something they don't want to see Team Secret running at all.
And once again, though, a lot of time taken by Snow Avalanche. Very quick selection from Team Secret for the bans, but it is going to be Samuel. That leaves the Adagio open for Secret. Again, flex pick can go either lane, jungle, or roam. Definitely would prefer to see it in the lane. But it's even in the jungle, it's not quite as bad. I really don't want to see the Adagio roam here because I feel like while Mowgli is great on this, unless they end up running like the Saw push comp, it's still the putting Kvalifar on this Adagio just gives him so much power and control over the lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see the Lance coming in on the side of Snow Avalanche. Avalance? It kind of goes together a little bit. But we are looking for Bastion to pick up his hero. These guys say that they listen to him as one of their biggest strengths. So we'll see what he pulls in for the second pick here into this Adagio. And it looks like it just might be the Kroll. Kroll and Lance together, actually a very volatile combo. Usually when they're on the other side, you feel pretty bad for Kroll. But when you mix them together, the Adagio is going to have a lot to worry about.
Yeah, the Lance has so much crowd control. It just increases the ability of the Kroll to stick onto whatever target he chooses. But picking the Kroll early, it leaves you open to something like this Kestrel. Kestrel is so strong into Kroll.
And I actually am a little bit nervous for Team Secret in this draft, because if they close this Avalanche draft out with a Scarf, I actually think that is an insane pick into this Team Secret comp. Scarf counters Kestrel super hard. Adagio cannot move out of it. They didn't ban him. This is the hero that Team Secret has a hard time dealing with. I really want to see them lock this in, because if they do, I'm feeling Snow Avalanche very well may take game 2 as well.
Yeah, and not only that, but also the Finn, very slow, can't really move out of the way of those Spitfires. They get stuck on the goop for a while. This is a very strong draft from Snow Avalanche.
All right, well, we're going to have to see how things fold here, because into the fold, it's once more Sona and Action Jackson.
Thank you very much, Forecourt Jester. I feel like I'm living in the Jungle Book because it's all about Mowgli in this draft.
I've got to agree. I feel like the only way you deal with the Scarf appropriately for Team Secret is by getting a great Force Accord. And past a certain point, it's all about the reflex blocks, right? Like, you know, is the reflex block going to come out of Waldemar? Is Bastion going to get a good Crucible off? I don't know. I agree with the analyst desk here. I feel like this draft was very risky from Team Secret. They should have probably seen the Scarf coming. And, you know, Avalanche, if last game was anything to go by, are kind of favored, in my opinion, in this game.
I have to say, I agree with you. If this game was the first game of the series, I'd give it over to Team Secret, just because I think strategically their play tends to be better. But Snow Avalanche really showed up in the first game, and it looks like actually Voldemar's going to take the Treant this time. So he's getting that little bit of extra experience under his belt, be able to get a bit of gold as well, and he doesn't miss any farm in the lane.
Yeah, actually getting that healing camp means that he's going to be back up to full, even though he tanked the camp anyway. I kind of like it. It lets Avalanche push up and maybe go for an exchange early on. They've got to be careful not to get hit by a very big Quibble, but aside from that, I think they can 2 versus 2, so long as maybe a Glimmer Shot is dodged. Team Secret, they do rotate down Kvalifar quite quickly there. I think they were apprehensive about Snow going for the aggressive play. This is going to buy them a little bit of time just to get Kvalifar back up the lane, get some more farm under his belt.
We've seen quite a few different cruel builds throughout this tournament. Actually, good impale there from Bastion onto Kvalifar. Oh, Bastion, please, come on. It's not all about you. Sometimes you have to let those Spitfires land as well. Does Githian wall Kvalifar away from the damage coming out from Voldemar?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the fact that Bash and his teammates like to listen to him, but Bash needs to make sure he's telling them what he's going to do, right? That was a little bit dicey. There's another route, though, this time.
This time the goop will land along with that Spitfire. Kvalifar does have the Gift of Fire to heal himself back up. Mowgli's going to come in as well, so they should be okay for now. Bastion very low, actually, and we'll have to back away from Mowgli as he pushes himself forward into that mustache bush.
Mowgli's just a deterrent here. I don't think there's any real chance of finding a kill unless Waldemar massively overextends, or Bash, I suppose, but it's unlikely given where he's standing.
Oh, Mowgli's going for it. He's popping the boots, has the polite company, will have the Quibble as well. Not going to connect, though, because Voldemar uses his own sprint boots to get away.
I also feel like Mowgli's initiation of that Quibble was a little bit late. Here comes an
impale onto Kvalifar. Will he be able to escape? No! Goop takes him down. Bastion falls as well. Palmatoro joining the fray at exactly the right moment.
Yeah, this is going to be the 1-for-1 trade. Not a bad exchange for either team by virtue of that, but I do feel like Team Secret, after how long that initial trade went, probably could have expected Kentusik to be nearby. I think Palmatoro picking up an early kill is something to take note of, though. We've seen a lot of very strong Kestrel play. If he can get ahead early, maybe he can be enough of a threat.
That's a big Quibble. Impale comes out as well. Kentusik has to run away from the fight. Now, they talked a little bit in the analyst desk segment about how strong this Scarf Cruel combination is. Do you think that Team Secret can build a way to counteract it, or do you think it's all about that strategic play in team fights?
That's a tough call. So if I was Palmatoro, I might consider steering away from what's been a very common build in the breaking point, and I would just go for something that allows me to get stealth up as frequently as possible so that I can try and go around the edges of the fight and maybe burst down Waldemar with crits. Kentusik.
Oh, that's a lot of damage coming out from Kvalifar. He's only got a Crystal Bit and double Swift Shooters there. That's just a lot of pain coming down from the Agent of Wrath. Bastion doing a good job of counter-jungling himself just to try and take some stuff away from Team Secret. Talking about heavy weapon power, a build actually we used to see come out of Voldemar a lot on the Kestrel was double Solar Blade into Shatterglass. Do you think that's an option here for Palmatoro?
I certainly think it's an option. I don't necessarily think it's the best one, because later on, hang on,
Voldemar, Glimmer Shot after Glimmer Shot connecting, but not enough damage to take that Scarf down.
I certainly think that Double Sorrow Blade into Shatterglass is a build that Palmatoro could go, but it's not the one that I would go. What I want to see is an early focus on damage and crit with a later focus on something like the Breaking Point, right? Because past a certain point, the fights are going to go long, and Breaking Point is insane on Kestrel. But I feel like Team Secret wants to win fights earlier on. You know, they want to maybe get Mowgli level 6 very quickly, and then immediately go for those Forced Accord plays. So just getting an early Sorrow Blade is going to be the best way to reliably get damage down onto Waldemar earlier.
Already Team Secret looking for a bit of a push on towards this turret. Voldemar and Bastion are quite low. A couple of Glimmer shots would take them out, but Team Secret just focusing down the turret as much as they can. And we do have a pause coming out, it looks like from Team Snow. Just going to work out what exactly is going on there. It's a good early start from both these teams. Pretty even is what we saw in the first game.
That's not actually a good start for Team Secret, because their composition doesn't have that late game power that, you know, Snow Avalanche does. The thing is, like, okay, actually that's not entirely true. It's a little bit misleading to say that, because yes, there is actually a lot of damage, for example, late game out of the, you know, the Kestrel and the Adagio. Yes, Mowgli on the Finn is going to do a lot of work late game. The problem is how all those ingredients mix together to deal with Scarf. You know, the analyst desk said it very, very well, I think, when they said, you know, Scarf, there's no real easy way to get on top of him. It's all going to be about the Forced Accords, like we said. And if you're not doing well in the early game to get to a point where maybe Waldemar has to make a choice between a reflex block and like early damage or an Eve, then you're not going to have those windows of opportunity to keep the pressure on to really deal with him.
It feels like they've gone for a lot of comfort picks here. You know, they've taken all those ingredients they know they're strong on, they put them in a bowl, and they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, really, you know? Seeing if they can pick up those comfort picks like the Finn, like the Kestrel, like the Adagio, and just win by being better players on those heroes rather than having the better composition.
I mean, the one glimmer of hope for me is maybe if the positioning in the fight is really good from Team Secret, they can kill Contusik very quickly and then try and turn onto Waldemar. This is something you actually used to see a lot when Crystal Ringo was popular in Europe. You'd see the Hellfire Brew, even when there was a squishy backline target, go on to the Kroll that was chasing him down to burst him quickly before he gets lots of weakness stacks up, gets lots of the inherent lifesteal that he gets from that. And that can really allow you to have a man advantage, which makes it difficult for Waldemar on Scarf to position properly. But that's so hard to execute. Like, if Contusik builds very defensively and has enough backup from Bastion, if they miss, like, any of the Glimmer shots that they're going to fire whilst he's running towards them, if Aversive Judgment is interrupted by something, there's so many things that could go wrong. And that's why in the draft phase you have to really think about what your opponents are trying to pick, and I don't think that Team Secret are respecting Scarf enough.
When we see a good draft, you have 3 or 4 different win conditions within that draft. It's like we can win through the mid game, we can win through the late game, we can win because we get this CC down, because we get this crowd control down, because we do poke damage. It feels like Team Secret only have that one win condition, which is taking down the Kroll and being able to get on towards the Scarf.
I mean, or getting a hook onto Waldemar, but that's not something you can rely on.
Yeah.
It's like every win condition in your list of win conditions has a weighting, and the weight of that is much less, but...
Well, Snow Avalanche, you talked about Kentisic's build on this Kroll. We've seen a lot of different Kroll builds. I know Tasty Bacon would talk the ears off a donkey about those builds. You know, he says Sorrow Blade first is the way to go, get that extra weapon power. We've seen Breaking Points first. We've seen Shiver Steals first.
Definitely not this game.
Yeah,
like,
I would agree. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, you don't want damage early on Kroll this game, I think, because then the risk of the Kroll being killed as he initiates becomes even higher, and Waldemar is going to have to really stress on the back line about getting into the right positioning. Hopefully this pause will be resolved pretty soon. I mean, one thing I'm curious about from your perspective on more of like a meta level is how do you feel like maybe Look at Me acting as an actual coach for once is doing for Snow Avalanche? Because I think that's super effective for them.
Oh, incredibly so. The fact that he's played up against Team Secret so many times and has had the experience even at live stages against them can be very, very strong. I mean, Voldemar's going to survive, man. You need to have confidence in Voldemar, you know? He's fine. He's able to get away.
I didn't there. But no, I mean, good job by Waldemar to get out of that situation. Team Secret, with that back, can maybe pressure the turret somewhat. Contusik doesn't exactly have, like, from House Heart yet, so he can't set up an initiation too easily. We'll see if Team Secret can actually get this one down.
Yeah,
Voldemar's
they'll be able to get it down. Voldemar is back, but Secret will back away. They've already stretched this gold lead to 1,800. A lot of that sitting on Kvalifar, sitting on 48 CS only to the 36 of Voldemar, so he's got that little bit of a lead. Now he's picked up Voldemar Cohen, but he's also picked up a spear to the face. Gideon Wall comes down, Kenta6 going for the chase. Voldemar's going to step forward, good cribble on towards that scarf, and Kenta6 is all kinds of dead. Gets taken out, he was stuck in no man's land between his team and the kill, wasn't able to take anyone down.
I don't really understand that play from Avalanche. Yes, you traded early, and maybe that makes you feel kind of good about your ability to fight, but even though we've been saying that Avalanche has a huge advantage, we've been saying it because later in the game, Waldemar's going to do too much damage and not be able to get jumped on. This early into the game, when you run into 2 bushes, which could have people in them, yes, you get Kvalifar locked down early, but Palmator is still there doing damage. Mowgli, this early in the game, is doing like a third of Waldemar's health with a quibble. You can't afford to make that fight.
No, it's definitely not. I'm slightly tilted because we saw there for the entire fight, Palmator had 1 shot, 1 kill, and Voldemar was on hardly any health. I was just like, just go for it. Just, you know, just take the shot sometimes.
No, I actually think that would have been a bit of a misplay, frankly, because I think Contusik needed to die first.
No, after Contusik was dead.
Okay.
Like, they were taking the minion mine, they were taking the tree ends.
Voldemar!
Voldemar's going to take a lot of damage, has come back from the Sanctuary, but here comes Kvalifar. One more, not quite got the burning fire on him to take him down. However, Team Secret looking like their dominance. Yeah, he's got it again. What's he doing, man?
Right there, the real outplay is to fire it onto the Sanctuary, right as you know it's about to recall.
That would have been next level stuff. I'm not sure if our spectator would have been able to follow that one, but he would have tried his darndest. Kenta6 going to take a lot of pain here once again. Burning fire, glimmer shot, fountain used, and Kvalifar now the target. So much pain, but a great stun out of the Impale. 1 shot, 1 kill. Bastion doesn't quite go down.
Stop, drop,
fire will burn away. He hasn't got the combat roll.
15.
He survives. 15 HP. Keeps Snow Avalanche in this game.
They nearly dived him too. Waldemar, he's going for a Dragon's Breath right now.
The turret has fallen though, and now Team Secret are going to chase him away. Scarf going the way of the dinosaurs, extinct on the Halcyon Fold for now. We'll go back to the Sanctuary once again, and Team Secret take 2 turrets and the lead.
Avalanche really threw away so much by going for that fight earlier, and it's continuing to bite them in the butt right now. Team Secret, one thing that everyone would say about this team is if you make a mistake against them, it is absolutely brutal. You just can't do it. And Avalanche did in a big way. You can see it paying off for Team Secret right now. Now, I want to talk about Palmatoro. We were talking earlier about Sorrow Blade. Yeah. I love that he went for this. Look at how much damage he was doing with the armor shots on the Waldemar earlier on. If he had a breaking point in that last fight, because he was hitting the turret, not heroes, he wouldn't have had any stacks. Maybe Waldemar does something there.
War Treads on Mowgli very early on as well to try and get that chase on towards the Scarf. We saw the Force Accord does connect with the Reflex block. No Crucible yet on Bastion, so he's not going to be able to get that second Reflex out. However, Force Accord is on a long, long cooldown.
All right, Contusik looks like he's going for a breaking point. And again, I feel like this is just a bit of a weird decision. If you can get onto maybe Palmatoro without Mowgli being there to deal with it, it could be okay, I suppose, because weakness stacks will stack quicker because he's building some attack speed. But that still leaves Kvalifar, who's a massive damage threat. I mean, this only deals with 1 person. Building tank, he deals with 2.
It's always the risk when you let Adagio go through, you know? He's so strong even by himself, and then if you've got a carry with him, he can buff that carry up. It's something we used to see a long time ago, you know? Adagio could just be a double buff comp. You just buff someone up, you get them massive, and just be undefeatable.
And, you know, you mentioned the buff composition. We haven't really highlighted this fact yet, but you have to remember that Kestrel's Glimmer Shots count as basic attacks.
Yes.
And Adagio's buff works on basics. So when you've got a Sorrow Blade plus the buff, the Agent of Wrath, you're dealing ridiculous damage every single time you fire those off, and you can use them very quickly as well.
It's what almost took Bastion down before. It was a Glimmer Shot that connected, but that burning fire took him down to 15 HP. Next time, maybe we'll take him all the way out. We're going to see what looks to be a breaking point coming out from Palmatoro next as well. Mowgli starting to get that Hourglass, starting to get some cooldown reduction to get those Force Accords off more often.
Shatterglass just got picked up on Waldemar. Now, this is an interesting item. I don't necessarily dislike it as much as, say, the breaking point. I think there's a good argument for it and a bad argument for it. Look at this, though. The flank might come in here.
From behind, is he going to go for it? They're looking for it from Hell's Heart on Kvalifar. He's the target then. The death of the Dragon's Breath as well, but the burst will come out. 3-man Force Accord will pull them in. Kvalifar running for his life. Snow Avalanche looking for the chase, but Voldemar takes a quibble to the face and will fall. And Team Secret pick up 1 kill and are looking for the turret as well.
Things are falling apart so rapidly right now for Avalanche. Look at the gold disparity. It's 8,000 at 10 minutes in. That happened out of nowhere very, very fast.
I don't want to be mean, but but it's 7,000.
It's 7. Caster math, man.
Caster math.
Caster math.
You are not Xinyin. You can't do that math that quickly.
No, I cannot. She's studying doctoring, much like you. She's smart. I'm not.
I think you're smart, especially in the Action Jacket. Team Secret playing intelligently this game to get themselves ahead this early on. Something we didn't see them do in the last matchup, and now they're showing us what they can do. They've only got 4 kills to 1, but because of the way they've taken turrets, taken gold mines, taken minion mines, they are so far ahead.
I mean, I also want to talk about the itemization that's now coming through. We have the Atlas Pauldron on Mowgli, which is going to really shut down Contusic's ability to get large amounts of weakness stacks onto people. And now Palmatoro has his own breaking point, which, considering the fact that he's never been the main target in these last couple of fights, it's always Kvalifar, I think is going to start to pay dividends. I like that he went for it second, like I said earlier on. But, you know, this is going to be all about Avalanche just barely holding on for the next 6 or 7 minutes. And at that point, maybe they start to look for fights.
They have started to build so that they can hold on, though. There's a Crucible on Bastion, there's a Reflex block on Waldemar, there's a Reflex block on Kentisik as well. Kentisik actually going for the Journey Boots to look for that chase even more. I think it's a little bit weak. I think he needs to be getting
You're not chasing.
more tankiness, yeah.
You're not really chasing in these fights. Avalanche, in that exchange, yes, they were going for Kvalifar at the end, but Palmatoro was still full and would have just probably 2 versus 3'd afterwards. I honestly think just more tankiness, man. Contusic needs to be a front line with Bash.
One weakness we've seen from Team Secret time and time again is they get into this sort of position and they just wait for the Kraken. Like, they'll try and look for fights, but they're very happy not to enter the base of Snow Avalanche and wait for that Kraken to spawn. The question is, if they do that, will Snow Avalanche get into a position where they can fight around the Kraken?
Precisely. I think it's actually a little bit too risky to just hard, like, all-out wait for Kraken. I think Team Secret needs to push their advantage whilst they can and look for those kinks in the armor where maybe they can go for maybe some of the Vein Crystal turrets or a pick. Snow Avalanche, the plan for them should probably just be to stay in their base. We do have a Frostburn out of Kvalifar. Now, that's interesting to me. There's not that many easy ways of applying it on an Adagio, but maybe he can actually slow down Contusic when he tries to get on the back line. Here comes Mowgli, though.
Bastion trying to roll his way away, but doesn't really have the escape here. Mowgli should be able to get him with a Quibble as well. They decide not to go for the chase. Forster Cord brings him in. That's a little bit of a waste there, Mowgli. Not quite the king of the swingers with that anchor toss. Not going to be able to take that Bastion down.
Yeah, that was an interesting play. I feel like maybe the coordination just wasn't there from Team Secret. If they'd stuck closer, sure. But also Bastion, I believe, could have reflex blocked with Crucible.
Yeah.
I didn't quite catch if he had it or if maybe just came off cooldown.
He had it up, he had it up.
Yeah, I think he chose not to. I don't think that was like a failure to react because he saw that Kvalifar and Palmatoro had backed away a little bit. So, yeah, smart decision from Bastion to hold on to that. Mowgli may have been trying to force it. That's the other explanation for why he went for that play. But I think more likely it was just Palmatoro and Kvalifar wanting to go get some more farm, get some more items. Kvalifar, I think, kind of needs a broken myth. The other thing that I wanted to touch on with regards to Frostburn is that it does slow down his damage path, and yes, Palmatoro is doing a lot, but Kvalifar also could be, right? Like if he went for the broken myth second, so I think it's an interesting choice. I don't know if it's the best plan here for Kvalifar.
Well, with that gold mine pickup, the gold lead has spread to over 8,000. I can do the maths. Bastion jumps in, though, and Team Secret looking for the fight from Hell's Heart will connect onto Palmatoro. Kvalifar takes a lot of pain. Here comes the Dragon's Breath, but Snow Avalanche are falling to the winds. The fountain has been used. Kvalifar still alive. Once again, gets impaled, gets knocked out of the burst. But too much and too strong from Team Secret. They take down 2 members of Snow Avalanche.
I hate to be that guy, but if Contusic was tankier right there and lived just a little bit longer, maybe Waldemar could have found some better opportunities. I do think Waldemar does need a broken myth because he would have had a lot of stacks in that fight. It wasn't the focus. But yeah, I mean, good exchange from Team Secret. Even though Palmatoro got stunned up early, which is, I would think, the better target for Snow Avalanche, they were able to just position around Mowgli and play around Finn, who's excellent in those clump fights.
10,000 the lead now for Team Secret. Only 14 minutes in. It's less than a minute before that Kraken spawns. Team Secret are going to rotate round, look towards that gold mine. We've seen one thing Team Secret is incredibly good at doing is taking the gold mine just as Kraken spawns to get that last 1 or 2 gold out of it. It's not important, but it's min-maxing, which is so vital at this level of play.
To be honest, right now, you can see that Mowgli and Kvalifar are quite, well, Mowgli especially, is quite close to hitting level 12. You do get some experience off of the gold mine. Maybe that pushes them over the edge. Every inch counts. So no, that's how this game works.
Right, they're going to go down towards it now. They've got 10 seconds to take it. Palmatoro's not there, so I actually think perhaps they won't take the gold mine at this time. hasn't really got a huge amount in it, probably about 90 to 100 gold, but they decide to leave it. Kraken is going to spawn, and Team Secret are looking for a Team Secret special.
Contraption's an interesting choice here from Mowgli. It's not as if he's got a Taka to reveal, and yes, setting up lots of vision before Kraken spawns is obviously great, but maybe he could have just built more tanky and then got some scout traps. Bash.
The War Treads come in. Bash does have the combat roll. He'll
nice.
jump across the wall, but going to get taken out by Palmatoro, who is ridiculous, 7-1. All 7 kills sitting on that Kestrel, and now Team Secret are going to start that Kraken. Speaking of Contraption, does give you that cooldown reduction, so we do see Finn's building it quite a lot to get that Force to Cord off cooldown. Kraken is going to go down here, and Snow Avalanche have to find a way to defend those last 2 crystal turrets.
I'm not sure they're going to be able to hear Sona. It's going to be very hard-pressed. Waldemar, especially if he gets caught.
He gets spotted out. Waldemar, he's not going far. He'll get taken down by Kvalifar. And now Team Secret can push in for the next 30 seconds with this Kraken.
That, I think, is game. I think Waldemar getting caught there is honestly game. There's way too much pressure coming through from Team Secret right now, and you need Scarf. Scarf is the only one you need, with maybe one other person, right, in order to be able to deal with this push at all, because you have the good damage on the Kraken, you have the wave clear for the minions. Without him, Kantuzak and Bastion can do nothing.
Well, there's only 7 seconds left on Voldemar. He might be back up in time. No crystal, no reflex block use. Yes, Kraken is full. You are totally correct about that, Action Jackson, but Snow Avalanche will not give up without a fight. They're going to look for it. The first turret's going to fall so incredibly quickly. Mowgli takes some pain from Hell's Heart's going to be used. But look at that. Kedistik is dead by the time it comes back to him. He throws out the boomerang, but it gets taken down. And now Bastion and Voldemar have to try and defend. The Kraken pushing in. As you say, Action Jackson, you called it just 30 seconds ago. Team Secret are going to take the main crystal. You activated their trap card by taking them down in game 1, and now they'll take you out in game 2.
I mean, that game was equally as impressive to me as Avalanche's game was in game 1. I feel like Team Secret, maybe they had some nerves coming up onto the stage, but they've worked past that. We were worried about the draft. I still think the draft was a bit risky, but if you feel confident, sometimes it can mean a lot to you to beat those odds, right? And Team Secret definitely did that. You can see on your screen, Snow Avalanche, they're having this meeting with Look At Me. They still have 1 point in the series. We've kind of reset. It's now like a best of 3. Either team could take this.
Quite possibly. I mean, Snow Avalanche have really shown up today, as have Team Secret. We're going to hand it over to our analyst desk to break down game 2, but now we're into a best of 3 between these 2 teams to see who is the winner of the EU Live Championships.
Well, the back and forth nature is definitely good to see it here alive and well into the finals. A 3-0, I think, would have been real boring out of this one, but now 1-1, just like the caster said, it's now kind of down to that best of 3. We're resetting a little bit here, but Action Jackson agreed with you there, Fuji. The draft, I mean, it was a bit risky for Team Secret, but they made it work.
They definitely made it work, but like, I'm going to be a little hard on Avalanche. It had a lot more to do with the things they were doing wrong that game than it did the things Team Secret were doing right. We had some pretty interesting decisions being made out of Avalanche in terms of, like, build paths, like, you're building like a Shatter Glass into an Eve on a Scarf when Broken Mist synergizes so extremely well with your ultimate. We're also fighting so early. We did a Scarf flank out of a top bush at level 7.
Looked good.
I mean,
it didn't work.
Looked good until Scarf died. But like, it was one of these things where it's like, my question is just why? Like, you just showed us that you can play a really clean game. In game 1 against Team Secret, the nerves were still probably high, but they held on to them and they really pushed Team Secret through this kind of awkward draft that they had. And we went into this game, we were really excited about the Scarf into the Kestrel, into the Adagio, but Scarf just didn't position himself well enough at all that game.
Yeah, Waldemar just not really on point. Kvalifar there, you can see on the screen, breaking up the nearly perfect game that Palmatoro had. Going into that very last team fight, Palmatoro had every single one of the team's kills. Kvalifar ended up taking the last one of them, but what a game from Palmatoro on this Kestrel. You know, yeah, the positioning maybe wasn't on point from Snow, but you still have to capitalize on that. And Team Secret, they are one of the best in the world at spotting a mistake that their opponent has made and just immediately jumping on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw this Kroll also going for some more damage early, trying to get to the breaking point before finishing most of his defensive items. A lot of times we criticize Kroll picks for not building enough offense, but there are times where the comp actually dictates that you don't really need it. When you have a backline late game Scarf, you should be getting to the Aegis, getting to your journey boost, getting a little bit of attack speed, getting an Atlas, just being a nuisance from a defensive standpoint. And every single team fight, we just didn't have the frontline defense that we needed, and they just needed to wait. Patience, patience, patience for the Avalanche team when you have this Scarf. Don't pick early game fights. Wait till you at least hit level 9 before you really start pushing. You just needed to wait.
Well,
Patience,
I mean,
patience,
the
patience.
draft aside, the poll actually didn't really change too much. It's actually still a 79 and 21 split. It's actually 1% different than the last time that we did see it there. But game number 3, or game number 1 of a best of 3, depending on how you want to look at it, you know, this is going to be really where one team pulls ahead, and the draft here is just moments away. But yeah, I said maybe Waldemar put his hair down. He won. Maybe it's time to put it back up.
Well, it looks like he actually has put it back up a little bit on the stage there, as you can see, but we are going to be getting into this third draft. 45-5 currently for Team Secret on this run. We'll see if they can continue to get a couple more wins, or will Avalanche take game number 3? Again, long time in the draft. Snow Avalanche taking their time, talking over their decisions. And you got to figure, they're not just talking about the ban right here. I mean, they've banned Samuel every single time. They know that's their ban. They just want this time to be able to talk to amongst each other and figure out what their plan is going to be.
Yeah, I completely agree. Team Secret thinking about their ban now, getting rid of this.
Hey!
Yes, so I really do like this because I still think Team Secret knows coming out of the last game, even though they won, it was definitely due to mistakes. Scarf still had a presence, even as far behind as Avalanche was. So get rid of the Scarf. You don't have to worry about it now. You get to play a different game completely.
Yeah, well, that does mean that the Adagio is going to be available. Waldemar is going to grab that. Most likely going to be played by Waldemar, but we'll have to see exactly what else they do decide to round out that composition with. Team Secret, now it's going to be on them. You have to assume the Lyra is going to get picked up here, and there it is. I mean, that's pretty obvious at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you could look to do Lance as well if you don't want Avalanche to do the Adagio Lance Arden combo, which we do see sometimes. Very, very strong combo, hard to deal with. But they're going to go ahead and grab the Kestrel. They don't want to pick up a Roam yet. If if Lyra is going to be on the Kvalifar, but we can still flex onto Mowgli. So I do like the way Team Secret's draft sits as we go into the second pick for Avalanche.
Palmatoro's been having some phenomenal games on this Kestrel throughout the championship, so makes sense to get him that comfort pick, get that power. But here comes the Fortress.
Fortress is on the board for Snow Avalanche. I think this is the first time Team Secret is playing into Fortress during this championship, if I'm not mistaken. So if they do get a heavy melee frontliner with this dog, it's going to be pretty hard for Team Secret to work around it for a couple of key points in the game.
Yeah, well, they're hovering over this glaive, and they're going to lock it in. Another very squishy composition coming out of them. The glaive is really the only one that you'd expect to be really, beefy on the front lines. Obviously, whoever goes Roam is going to build up a lot of health just by the nature of the Roam items, but this last pick, Krull from Team Secret. This is going to very likely then be the Roam Lyra with the Kestrel in the lane for Kvalifar.
Yeah, we'll find out soon enough as we head into the game.
Well, that pristine white jacket calls our name, so let's give it over to Action Jackson and Sona.
Thank you very much, Forecourt. That was very kind of you. I almost said Forecourt Humanist, and then I realized Humanist isn't there.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
No, he was back here earlier.
He lives
on
in
today.
my heart, though.
Absolutely. He lives in all of our hearts.
But we are into game 3 here, Action Jackson. It's been incredibly close thus far. I mean, Team Secret really cracked it out in the second game and showed us the Secret we know and love. But Snow Tsunami here, and Snow Avalanche here, in my opinion, have a slightly better draft.
They kind of do. So my concern is actually with the Krull. I'm not entirely sold on it. Krull is very good into Adagio, and I think with the Lyra, it could be good early on. But I feel like the Fortress is going to initiate fights that happen too quickly, potentially, for Palmatoro to ramp up if the game gets late enough. We'll see. Nah, because Kvalifar is going to do a lot of damage later on. I'm changing my opinion as we go along here, but I actually do kind of like Team Secret's draft.
I think it's okay. I think that the weakness is the Krull, in my opinion, in the early game. I think if Avalanche are able to play it effectively, Fortress and Glaive can do a huge amount of pain, although Palmatoro is already stealing away front, so as I say, that Team Secret coming for the rotation.
Fighting Lyra Krull early on is not going to happen too easily because you can give the Imperial Sigil heal onto the Krull whilst he's building up weakness stacks and life stealing, and it's kind of just very difficult to kill him until Contusik at least has a little bit more damage, I would say. But yeah, we'll see how it works out later on in the game. That's when I really have my eyes on. Bash and Contusik did rotate up to the lane quite early on here, but Kvalifar was already gone. I like the fact that Kvalifar is being careful, because with the Glaive and the Fortress, those are two heroes with jumps quite early that can dive onto you and make your life very difficult in lane.
That they can, and of course Adagio does have that range as well, so if you can dodge out the Glimmer shots, Voldemar can trade effectively into this Kestrel. We've only seen 4 Fortresses across this tournament, 3 of them played by Dingo for G2. I think there was 3 wins for them as well. Bastion bringing out the Fortress here, it's not a return to form for Snow Avalanche, but it signals a statement of intent for them. They want to be aggressive, they want to try and get this extra damage down from their roamer as well as from their laner and their jungler.
Yeah, I mean, Snow Avalanche definitely have a lot of power early on here when it comes to 3 versus X situations. I think, as I said, in the jungle and the 2 versus 2, I'm a little bit skeptical, at least until some damage is picked up. But when they jump in and go for a kill on someone, they can take them down quite quickly with Bash's bleed. Also, Waldemar can kind of buff up Contusik, and that can add a lot of damage to the equation. It's going to make it difficult for Mowgli to spend a lot of time in lane. We do have a fight.
Both the teams will just back away for now. Bastion taking a little bit of pain. This is always the weakness playing into Alira as well. She has that passive. It can just push you back so far. You know, you getting the Principal Arcanum down time after time takes you down really low very quickly and forces you to try and run away while being slowed, which makes it even more difficult for you to get out of the fight.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Something I want to talk about with Lyra, though, quite frequently we'll see her babysitting in the lane, and we are seeing her do that right now. But I feel like this is maybe a little bit risky if Contusik catches on.
Yeah.
So long as a flare comes out from Bash and they spot Mowgli quickly, I think just a double jump forward plus Waldemar buffing up Contusik could equal a kill on Mowgli, which might be why Mowgli is going for such a lot of defensive tier 1 items very fast. That would make sense to me. I think he hasn't gone for the boots because if he gets jumped on, he's dead anyway. He just needs health and shield and armor. But yeah, it's an interesting early game so far. Not too much has happened. Both the teams playing quite cautiously. As they are 1-1, I can appreciate that. It's a difficult situation in this Grand Finals.
This is one of the really big games in a best-of-5 series as well. When you're 1-1, getting that lead, getting to 2-1, getting one game away from winning the whole thing is so vital for you mentally and emotionally, because it allows you that little bit of freedom. You know if you lose the game, you're not getting knocked out, and you put all of the pressure onto the enemy side.
Absolutely, and either team getting it would be great for their mentality, as you were saying. Have a look at Contusik right now, hovering up in this bush, looking for the flank opportunity. I feel like if Avalanche want to make this play, they might want to try and slow down their push a little bit.
It's going to go now. Mowgli's going to take some pain, then don't want to afterburn in. They decide against it. Bright Bulwark, of course, are there to stop it, and that's such a powerful skill coming out from Mowgli. You know, that ability just to stop both Bastion jumping in and the afterburn coming in from Kentisik is so incredibly strong.
That's why you can't really start a gank with a basic attack, though. Like, Mowgli, if he has vision of you or if he knows you're there, is just going to instinctively push the Bright Bulwark. And yes, in the later stages of the game, for example, it's just going to consistently be a really good tool for them. But in the early stages of the game, if Mowgli doesn't hit it on time, it doesn't matter that much. And I feel like Avalanche could have been a little bit sneakier there. They could have tried to execute the play more quickly. Perhaps they were afraid of Palmatora being in the bush, which he now is moving forwards.
Not going to be able to get too much onto Bastion here. The turret will keep him defended, and they will just back away. Let's have a quick talk about this Fortress build. Voldemar, I mean, it does take a huge amount of pain from that. Kentisic's going to join the lane. Let's have a quick talk about the Fortress build. We've seen a couple of Aftershocks on Fortress. Is that the way you would go here?
I like Aftershock. I think it's interesting, though, that he hasn't gone for the Crystal Bit early. I know there's actually quite a few varying opinions on the Crystal Bit early. I kind of like it, especially in this game where you're wanting to dive in and do big burst damage with Glaive and Fortress in early game fights. But the Aftershock, I mean, returning to your point as a whole, I think is actually quite a good tool for the side of Snow Avalanche on this Fortress. For example, if you're in a situation where Palmatora is jumping on your backline and you use an Aftershock proc on him, the percentage health damage could be very good if Palmatora goes quite tanky. So that's one way of looking at it. Here comes another fight.
Voldemar, the target. Bastion jumps in to try and keep Palmatora away. He's going to be the target for them now. And will just be able to back away. The Glimmer shots hitting his minions weren't connecting onto those Snow Avalanche members.
Yeah, notably Bastion doesn't really take damage from these trades. I feel like if you're going to jump in like that with Palmatora and Mowgli, you got to go for Waldemar, but Bash is doing a good job of body blocking a lot of these Glimmer shots, making it so only the splash component, which is CP, lands onto Waldemar. Contusik making his way up here now. He's just been farming away in the background, really not applying too much pressure early on. This does give Snow Avalanche the encouragement to move up a little bit.
Palmator just built a crystal bit.
Yeah, he could be going for a few different things here. So he could be going for Aftershock, but just built attack speed early on to get weakness stacks. He could actually be going for an alternating current. It's
That's
not.
what I was thinking.
It's not terrible.
It's not traditional on.
It is
Pro.
unusual, but it is possible as well. Like, there is value to it. It gives you damage early on. It gives you attack speed, which is obviously great with weakness stacks. It does get through a lot of the early armor picked up by Contusik and Bash, so if he specifically wants to fight in the 2 versus 2 and doesn't see himself being able to get onto Waldemar, this might be a bit of a response to that, although I think it's a bit all-in of a response.
That it is. Altenenko has been finished on Voldemar. Breaking point actually on Kentasik now as well. So again, not a traditional first item that we see on Glaive. Usually they go towards that Sorrow Blade first. Breaking point here means he thinks there's going to be more extended fights.
I can understand where he's coming from, because with Adagio on the side of Avalanche providing heals, and Lyra on the side of Team Secret providing heals, you know, it kind of makes sense that the fights would go longer. It's also worth noting that the rate at which Breaking Point stacks is dependent on the damage that you do.
Yeah.
And Contusik as Glaive has a lot of upfront damage that can get him a lot of stacks very quickly. Following that, he has additional attack speed to pop bleed stacks from Fortress, and he now has those Breaking Point stacks to deal some more damage. So I think it actually makes a great deal of sense here. Let's see if Contusik can make it work.
Mowgli is the target. Voldemar's going to put some pain down onto him. Snow Avalanche once again backing away. Both these teams don't want to fight. Like, they do want to fight, but they don't want to be the ones to make the mistake. And you can see how apprehensive and tentative they are. They do not want to go behind in this best-of-5 series. 1-1, of course, for the EU Live Championships here. And Bastion has to back away. Jumps in onto Mowgli. Not going to be able to do too much. Palmato has been waiting so patiently down in this bush, and he just runs away to farm.
Look at how much more slowly the health bars of Avalanche bounce back after those trades than it does for Team Secret. I feel like, oh, attack of the pack.
Attack of the pack is used. The Wolves are on the hunt, and they're hunting for Team Secret blood. Palmatoro the target. There's the afterburn, knocks him into the wall. The fountain comes up, but Palmer's taken very low, very quick. He will just about survive off towards the side. Imperial Sigil heals them up, and Team Secret able to get away from the engage from Snow Avalanche.
It's not an interaction you see super frequently, but it seems obvious, right? But Bright Bulwark actually slows up attack of the pack creeps, and that can be big. That was big right there.
Wolves like to hunt at night, you know?
So when it's bright, they're a bit afraid. They don't want to go in. I can dig it. All right, Palmatoro, I want to talk about his build real quick, because he stopped going for whatever he was going for after he built the Heavy Prism, which is also interesting. He went for a little bit more armor. I really like this. Against Breaking Point, this is not only reducing the damage that you take, but the damage that he amplifies and stacks up through the Breaking Point stacks itself. Quite frequently, you would imagine Contusik will be hitting Palmatoro. So I really like this. It actually kind of buys even more time for his backline. Kvalifar went for a Sorrow Blade straight away this game. That choice, I think, is maybe a little bit more questionable. I think Breaking Point would have been a better decision, just because early on here with the Glimmer shots, you're going to be able to stack it quite quickly, and with Contusik already picking one up, you know that you're not going to get burst in the same kind of way.
The one thing I like about the Sorrow Blade is if you hit those Glimmer shots onto Voldemar, you're making him use his energy for the Gift of Fire, which means he doesn't have as much energy for the Agent of Wrath in the fights. It's a little bit about just trying to reduce him. Look at how much energy you actually use from using that Gift of Fire.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, look at how much energy he regenerates by attacking burning targets. So if he's in good positioning, I think that's mitigated somewhat. It doesn't really matter. Kvalifar picked up his Breaking Point here. Here comes the attack of the pack.
One shot, one kill has connected onto Voldemar. They're going for the fight. Here comes Voldemar into the midst of the fray. Palmatoro is the target. Kentasik does get stunned up, but look at the damage from Palmatoro. The huge heal. Burst comes down. Mowgli split from his team. He has to try and run away, and Kvalifar and Palmatoro are looking for the chase. No, they're not. Kvalifar will fool Palmatoro. The next target, he serves his way back to the Sanctuary, and Snow Avalanche pick up 2.
I'm having flashbacks right now, Sona, to Game 1. Just sticking around too long, weird positioning at times in the fight. It actually started off quite nicely for Team Secret. The one-shot, one-kill means that it's full adrenaline stacks on Kvalifar right as we get out of the gates here. But he spent a lot of time Glimmer shotting when I feel like he should have just been using basics. If the Glimmer shots aren't hitting Waldemar, they're not really doing that much, because there's so much armor on the other targets that, you might as well just go for the basics and have the ability to reposition quickly. Then Kvalifar walked back into a verse, which is where the flashback really hit me hard, because that happened in those games against Mouse. I don't know, Team Secret, that was a little bit, it wasn't a bad fight to pick, it was just poorly executed.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It felt like they were calling from two different sides of the fight, and Mowgli was saying, oh yeah, we can go back in, and so Team Secret were going back in, but because they were coming from the bottom and the top, really weren't able to do that much. Bastion, the target here for Team Secret, going to see if they can take the wolf down, but the gift of fire will heal him up. Fountain used as well, and here comes Kentasik. Palmer's dead, and now Mowgli can get taken out as well.
Nice
stun with the active camo. Attack of the Pack's being used. It will chase Kvalifar away. Mowgli has to use the Arcane Passage, but all three members of Snow want the chase. One shot, one kill hits onto Voldemar, but the afterburn hits onto Mowgli and will take him down. Kvalifar has to run away. Looking for the stun there, actually stayed around for way too long once again. Voldemar looking for the chase. Kvalifar doesn't really have anywhere to go from here. Voldemar's just going to chase him round. Active camo is up, but no energy at all. Kvalifar with a reflex is not going to be enough. Snow Avalanche take down all three members of Secret.
I feel like Kvalifar could have made that play work if he did it earlier, because he maybe would have had some adrenaline stacks or breaking point stacks to work with. But, you know, again, Team Secret, they kind of saw an opportunity. They were like, all right, Bash, he's here, he's by himself, but they didn't have the vision to back themselves up. They didn't see Kentusik coming up. They didn't realize that Bash already has an Atlas plus a Fountain plus an O-Card. He's too tanky to take down. You know, this is becoming a bit of a problem for Team Secret, where they're picking fights that they can't afford to, and Avalanche's reactions are, like, very good. They are just bouncing right on top of whoever they need to. Palmatoro is not tanky enough. He spent a little bit of time delving into an offensive itemization path that he never finished up. So it's worth noting, actually, just on this topic, that the Heavy Prism is going to give him a bit more of a shield from things like his Dead Man's Rush, but that's not the same as just building tanky. So they're able to do what we saw last game Team Secret do to Avalanche. You know, they just take down the Kroll as he comes in on the front line, and then they can deal with Kvalifar later.
Having the double Atlas is so strong as well for Snow Avalanche itemization-wise, you know, because Palmatoro relies on auto-attacks, because we see Kvalifar relying on auto-attacks as well, having double Atlas is so powerful because you're maiming two targets, you're reducing their attack speed, you're stopping them from being able to get all of that damage down in fights. And already, actually, we see a weapon infusion just popped on Mowgli, so it looks like Team Secret might be looking for a fight.
I like the weapon infusion, actually. It's going to give him a little bit more ability to harass from range consistently. Like a Crystal Infusion on a Lyra makes your Imperial Sigil stronger, but those are on a long cooldown and you want to save those to heal. So a weapon infusion actually gives you quite a lot, since you get 2 basics every attack, really. Here comes the fight, though.
Pack of the Pack, Kentasik has come for the flank. Palmatoro tries to get onto the glaive. Can he send him to an early grave? No, it's going to be Palmatoro the target. Good from Hell's Heart will come, hit Kentasik straight into the face and stop the Snow Avalanche advance.
That was a nice disengagement from Team Secret, and I really like the fact that they didn't push their luck afterwards. You certainly didn't want to in that situation. You've got to remember that the gold, although a decent lead for Avalanche at around 4,000, isn't something that Team Secret can't overcome. So if you see an opportunity to just back away and play safe and pick a better fight later on, you should do it.
Team Secret taking a deep breath in this game. They're trying to work out how they want to get back into it. It's 3,700 gold the difference. Snow Avalanche already started rolling down the mountain, and it might, as Tasty Bacon said before, it might be Team Secret that we see being dethroned here. They've been the King's Regent for the longest time, almost an entire year, looking to retain that crown. It would be a grand slam for them, but it would be a grand victory for Snow Avalanche if they could take it off their hands. Bastion the target here for Team Secret, looking for a fight. Mowgli steps forward, Imperial Sigil's used. Kentasik's going to take a lot of pain, but Mowgli as well gets absolutely melted away. Attack of the Pack, Kvalifar needs to get away from there. Crucible is used. There is the active camo. It's a 2-man stun. Kentasik there as well with a burst. Kentasik's going to take a lot of pain. There is the one-shot, one-kill, but it's not going to do enough. Snow Avalanche back away. Team Secret still all survive. And once again, it's a stalemate between these two teams.
I'm not sure who would have won that fight if they kept going, but here they go again.
Arcane Passage, they're going through it,
all
boys.
through.
Palmatoro's there, he gets named up though, and he's gonna fall. They do take down Bastion. Kvalifar trying to retreat away from Kentasik, but he's gone for the chase.
No energy.
Mowgli can't do anything versus the Adagio who'll take him down. Voldemar, he's a Volder Star, and Kvalifar has to run away.
All right, I feel like if Kvalifar maybe stuck around and juked out going through the portal with an active camo, that could have been a sick play.
He didn't have the energy for it.
Well, he did at the beginning because he had adrenaline stacks, but once he went through the portal and walked around for a bit, they all dropped off, and suddenly he can't cast it. In any case, it was an interesting play by Team Secret. I understand the idea. It kind of looked like they were maybe winning the exchange earlier on. Kvalifar, hang on, we'll get back to this in a second. He wants
Glimmer shot. Kentasik goes in for it. Afterburn is used. Just needs a good glimmer. No, doesn't get the steal away, and Kvalifar now has to try and get away another day, but he'll take down Voldemar. From Hell's Heart comes out from Palmatoro, not even needed there. And Team Secret able to pick up a kill, although they do lose out on that Kraken.
Getting that kill is pretty darn big, especially because Kentusik's actually quite low health, and he was tagged so it doesn't get the Kraken regen. This really lets Team Secret take down the Kraken safely. I don't imagine Kentusik is really thinking about going in here. That's so bold. Yeah, he's just going to back away. I think this is the smart decision. What? Attack the pack.
Just trying to chase off Team Secret here. I feel if you're Secret, you just engage. You just get onto Kentusik, because that's exactly what they do. Snow Avalanche caught in a blizzard. A little bit of misdecision-making by them there. Team Secret will take the Kraken before he even takes the turret as well. This is such a big win for Team Secret.
I mean, it is and it isn't, right? I mean, so they didn't get the Kraken. They did lose that fight.
But yeah, but not losing a turret to the Kraken.
But as you said, I mean, they've made the most of a bad situation here.
Maybe they will.
Situation.
Oh!
You know, that makes it less good.
Yeah.
But Snow Avalanche, I can't quite understand Kentusik's plan there. Yes, you have some good burst, but it's not as if you're crit and damage Glaive, right? Like you have Sourblade Breaking Point. That's less about just going and getting upfront damage. Kvalifar picking up the kill on Waldemar, also obviously very good. This has gotten Kvalifar a lot of damage items. You know, he's now got a Bone Saw on top of everything else. And considering that Mowgli's building like a Weapon Infusion, Armor Shred, it's nice.
Is Palma building a broken myth? It looks like it. I mean, this itemization-wise, that's what he's going towards now. Snow Avalanche looking for the engage. Great Bright Bulwark stops Kentusik from being able to get in. Attack of the Pack's being used. It's only on about a 40-second cooldown, though, so Snow Avalanche will have that one back up soon. Looks like Team Secret are happy just to stay defensive until that Kraken respawns, and then perhaps look for another fight.
So, Broken Myth. Let's talk about this one, because it's an interesting choice.
That's what casters say when they don't really agree with the choice.
Like, in 10 minutes... I might change my mind. Right now, I don't really agree with it.
Okay.
But if he were to get like a little bit more crystal power on top, sure. The reason being that a Kroll is expected to live quite a while in fights, and you know, you're eventually going to start ramping up to the point where your smites are just hitting like a truck. You're going to get more out of your Dead Man's Rush and the shield there, you know, thenceforth. So yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like if he had more crystal, sure. I would have finished something else first, though, and just kept the piercing. In fact, I wouldn't have built the piercing. I would have kept the heavy prism, finished whatever other item you're going to pair it with, and then built Broken Myth, because it doesn't really do that much without additional crystal. For a Kroll. I mean, for someone else, maybe, but Kroll, not so much.
It's a minor lead here for Snow Avalanche, playing in the major leagues. Of course, they came up from the Challenger Series just this split to be able to face up against Team Secret here in the European Live Championships Summer Split Finals. A true Cinderella story for them. Of course, all their players have been seen on the live stage before. A very strong team, but it's the first time this lineup has ever made it this far, keeping the Snow legacy alive. 2,000 gold the difference between these teams, almost 20 minutes in. Team Secret looking for something around this. Lots of scout traps, one shot, one kill onto Kentusik. That is a good amount of damage. Basham jumps in. Team Secret will try and disengage and then re-engage. There's the from Hellstart onto Voldemar, but great engage by Kentusik. The burst comes down, is blocked out a little bit. Palmato needs the fountain to keep himself alive, and Mowgli times it perfectly. Now Kavalafar's going to try and face up against Voldemar. It's 1v1, the laner beat Elena, but Voldemar will escape. Kentusik jumps in. Mowgli the first to fall. They need to get away. They need to start another day. Team Secret have to retreat away from this one. There's still 3 members of Snow Avalanche looking for the fight. Palmato has so much energy left alive on him, but Snow Avalanche able to take down Mowgli and win out the fight.
That was so close. I mean, there were some really, really good moments for Team Secret there. I also feel like Avalanche played that fight pretty much perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, they went in and out. There was a great afterburn on Kvalifar midway through that, which completely saved Bastion and the entire game probably for Avalanche. But the big thing for me is that although Team Secret, yes, they fell behind there, they showed a much stronger face than in some of these previous fights. I mean, the last couple of times they got kills, keep in mind there's only 3 on Team Secret, it was because Avalanche just massively overreached. So having them almost be able to take a fight there does encourage me that maybe Team Secret, as we move a bit further in, could do well. They've got to deal with this Kraken first, though, and that's a big obstacle to overcome, a bit of a road bump for them. We're already 20 minutes in. Things are getting a little bit dicey for both teams, Team Secret especially, though.
Well, it could all come down to one roll of that dice. One crit is all we need. Attack of the Pack has been used. Team Secret backing away from the turret. The Kraken's still very, very healthy on this push. Kvalifar takes a lot of pain. Palmato too. Look at the damage that Voldemort is putting down. Alternating current, Broken Myth, Shatterglass, 2 stacks on that Broken Myth as well. They're going for the Crystal Turrets. Team Secret need to take down the Kraken, but at the moment the Kraken is working only for Snow Avalanche. They take the first main Crystal Turret down. Kentastic does get stunned up as well. He'll afterburn away. The Kraken still pushing in. Voldemort now the target. The burst comes down. The stun, double stun on Cabalifar, but he got into active camo. Palmato's looking for the
Kraken's still
Adagio.
so healthy right now.
Kraken off towards the side. Kentastic takes down the turret. Snow Avalanche are fighting for their lives. It's a great stun, and already Voldemort's having to back away. Bastion looking for it. Voldemort there as well. He's left his team for dust. The Kraken's going to keep pushing in. Mowgli goes for the chase. Voldemort turns him around. He went through the portal. The Kraken's going to push him down. The Kraken can take him. What? Oh no! What? Snow Avalanche use the portal to their advantage. They take the game.
Oh my God.
2-1 for Snow Avalanche. And Team Secret look dismayed at their own portal.
They defended. They had defended that push. They could have come back into that game. The portal was the golden ticket for Voldemort to just jump into it at all. That was absolutely insane. One of the craziest endings to a game of Vainglory I have ever seen.
That's what you get when you play with portals. Jackson, sometimes they backfire, sometimes you get caught in an infinite loop. We'll hand it over to Fort Court Jester, Tasty Bacon and Fuji to break down that game.
Wow, the knife's edge at the end of it all. I think we just need to throw that back up on screen, ladies and gentlemen, because, man, I mean, we've seen some close endings, Bacon, but that's a picture-perfect one.
That was absolutely ridiculous. The heroic play here. We're going to actually see quite a bit of this as this Kraken pushes in. Team Secret, they do a great job of backing off and waiting for this opportunity, waiting to fight underneath these double turrets.
Yeah, they do, and as you can see, once the Kraken pushes up to the turret, there's a lot of decisions to be made here. Do you focus the Kraken? Do you focus the enemy team? And right now, they're kind of waiting a long time to focus that, but they do get the sword off on the glaive, continuing to pressure this out as the Adagio Verse does so much damage.
Yeah, Cavalifar getting stunned by the Verse is really not good for them. Palmatoro not really able to get in there, make this Broken Myth Curl work, but Team Secret, they still find 2 of the 3 kills, but look at this play here at the end. Waldemar just kind of hanging out, and then they're going in the portals. He takes the portal back in, gets a few more hits onto the crystal, and that is the difference as Kraken just barely gets that last hit off. If Waldemar doesn't take that portal back in and get a hit or 2 on the crystal, this game's still going.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. I mean, that's pretty much as close as you can possibly get to turning around a Kraken push, and it's just so close. They just didn't get it, man.
The casters are like, oh, it's over. Oh, maybe not. Nah, it is. Nope. Yep. Nope. And then we just started walking. I was like, I don't actually know how this ended, but then we heard the crowd erupt. And I think, the closest game past that goes all the way back to Autumn, back when we were, Esports Arena, the very first one. We had, the highlight factory of Lost Boy Toff and NA and all that, but it came down to a very similar then as well. But man, just as you said, it's the closest thing you can get.
Yeah, looking at the scores here, Cavalifar wasn't having the best of games initially, but really stepped up in the last few minutes, almost able to turn that game back around for Secret, but just not quite having enough. It was really the rest of Snow Avalanche as a team outperforming Team Secret, and 8 to 6 on the kills in a 21.5-minute game. That's the objective focus style that Secret normally plays, being brought out by Snow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd have to question once again, coming into the finals, we talk a lot about how Team Secret has been winning in draft, but these drafts have been a little shaky. It seems like they're uncharacteristic for Team Secret to be doing some of these things. And we also take a look at this Kroll into the Fortress Glaive. It's a very hard time for Kroll to be able to do a lot into that combo. And with Adagio in the back line, most of the time Kroll cannot even get his smites off to stay alive throughout the early and mid game. The build didn't help either. Your biggest issue with Kroll is surviving into this combo of the Fortress, and if you're spending 3,100 gold on a Broken Myth, you're essentially telling yourself, I don't really need that much defense. I'm here to do more damage, but I just completely disagree with the offensive pressure from the Kroll. You need more defense against this comp to stay alive so Kestrel can carry a lot harder.
Yeah, the Crystal Power Kroll, it's a lot of fun and really strong in Battle Royals, but that's not what this is. This is the live championships. This is the grand finals of the European Championships, and the Crystal Kroll just really did not cut it. And I mean, I think it was a consensus in back of, I don't think a single person back there really liked the build decisions on the Kroll.
Well,
normally I'm alone in that opinion.
No, we definitely were with you on this. I think even Action Jackson said, I got to go with Bacon on this Kroll during the cast. And it was certainly a little strange. Fuji, you put out a tweet as well. You said, do what works, do what gets results. And, game number 1 happens like, well, this is why you got to do it. Game number 2 came in, and Team Secret able to tie it up, but then they threw out this Kroll. It's like, all right, maybe we got to go back to Fuji's words here, It's the highest level of competition. There's a lot on the line, especially coming into a game number 4 for our grand finals. Is this the time to be creative? Because I don't think so.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes me think that maybe this Rome Samuel pick was kind of the more unique offhand thing that Secret had prepared for the finals. And now that they've already used it, Avalanche spotted it. They've been banning Samuel every game. Team Secret hasn't been able to fall back on this. We're still missing potentially some opportunities for Team Secret, I think, to work Saw into the mix to some extent. Like, they still have some strong picks they can run into Avalanche, but Avalanche, I think, is just feeling really confident right now, knowing that Team Secret's been drafting a little bit under the weather. I think they missed a big opportunity in the game earlier to get rid of the scarf. They do get rid of the scarf in this game, but Avalanche answers back and says, we don't need it to beat you. So right now, the mentality of Team Secret has to be pretty shaken.
Yeah, and for Team Secret, I really want to see them continue to put Palmotoro on hard carries. These hyper late game carries like the Kestrel. He's been so on fire with Kestrel. I thought for sure when they picked it up, it was going to be going to him. They were going to pick a different laner. But then the Kroll came out, and it just really wasn't able to do anywhere near as much as they needed it to in that game. And so we're going to be getting into the 3rd draft shortly as the stage is clearing except for the players.
Draft?
The 4th draft. Yeah.
Already kind of a long day ahead. But this, to be even a little bit more bullish, I think you have to have some flexibility, some mentality in the draft. So once you see a team go with something off meta, you have to be able to match that maybe in the off meta. We think about using Rhyme picks in the future if we see those kind of double melee in the jungle. But we will start off the draft today with Team Secret banning out the Lyra.
Yeah, and one more thing I do want to point out is if this was a best of 3, which the previous 22 series that Team Secret had won have been, it would have been over. The consecutive streak would be over. So,
a lot on the line here, guys.
So Avalanche, they can definitely do this. They're 1 game away from the championships, and it's going to be an Adagio going over to Secret. Again, if it's in the lane, I'd love the pick.
Yeah, I do agree with that. We do see Samuel being banned again. Avalanche is probably going to stick with this. It seems to be working for them. Now 1 game up on Secret, bringing the Glaive in. It could be Fortress as well. It did work in the last game, but they may not want to give too much away if they do prioritize another carry. It is something they could think of. In terms of what is left to pick, since Lyra and Adagio are off the board, they may want to grab that Finn, but it looks like Scarf is going to come through.
And the supposed secret kryptonite, because it has done very well for Snow Avalanche. They were able to win with it. They forced the ban of the Scarf in the previous game, and now they're going to get to run it again. Let's see what Secret has to answer.
I really would like to see Team Secret go back to something more traditional here, which it looks like they're doing. They have the Adagio, they have the Finn. Lance is also available. When you have the front double lines with the Adagio, you can do quite a lot of work, but they may have something else in their mind. In this specific matchup, I'd actually not too favorite of the Sky because we do have the Glaive, and if they do last pick something like a Fortress again, or Lance, it's gonna be very difficult for this Sky pick.
I do actually, I have to disagree with you a little bit though, just because Palmotoro's Sky seems to be on a whole nother level, especially when they combine it with the Adagio. But that's going to be an Arden as the final pick for Snow Avalanche. So another very strong jungle duo in the Glaive Arden. We'll see if they can make it happen.
Well, what could be a historic match? Let's take it back to our town with Action Jackson and Sona.
Truly the talented ones over here. Action Jackson on my left, and Sona obviously is me.
I don't know about that. I feel like the players are the real talent.
You say that, you know, after that last game, I'm not sure about Mowgli's Arcane Passage choice.
Oh, that's really savage.
It's really savage. Team Snow Avalanche bringing us back to the winter compositions. Bringing out this Arden, bringing out the Scarf, bringing out the Glaive is a strong lineup.
This is the composition that was the absolute terror of Europe back in winter, and even, you know, previous to that at times. You have the Glaive Arden combination, which actually has a very potent early game, which can kind of catapult Waldemar on Scarf to a earlier late game. But you've also got the ability to use Glaive defensively, help for peeling for your Scarf. Arden can do a similar kind of thing. You've got the pressure cooker. It's just a very solid composition. It's fallen off recently, but certainly with Avalanche and how well they've been playing things like this Scarf, Kentusik and his Glaive, I can see why they'd want to go it in what could be a really important matchup for the history of Europe's Vainglory scene. It's Team Secret, they're so close. Yeah. They only need 2 more games in this series, and they could be 4-time champions, but Snow Avalanche do not want any of that.
Not at all. Team Secret, the reigning champions, 3 splits in a row, now into their 4th split, of course. If they win this, they will be crowned the Grand Slam winners, but at the moment, Snow Avalanche have many things to say at that. Looking to commit regicide, going to see if they can take this Secret lineup down.
You know, Team Secret, although I've talked a lot about Avalanche's composition already, I do think it's worth noting this is such a comfort composition for Team Secret. I mean, Kvalifar's been playing Adagio since forever because it's been strong for a very long time and only briefly fallen out of most metas. Mowgli, Finn is the hero he became known for and is still somewhat known for. And Palmatoro, he's on Sky. You heard Bacon talking about putting him on more carry-centric heroes. This is maybe not as hard a carry as something like a Kestrel can be, but if you get into these 1v1s, I would want Palmatoro on Sky against, you know, any Scarf, basically. So I think it's comfort versus what is something that is a historically very powerful composition out of Avalanche.
Looks like Palmatoro is going down the weapon power route on this Sky as well, so he's going to go towards that earlier game spike, have a lot of damage, especially with the Adagio buffs that come out. It's something we haven't seen Team Secret do too much, but it's something we saw a lot in North America.
It is something that we wanted to see, though.
Yes.
Actually, last time we saw this kind of a composition with Adagio and Sky, I believe it was also into a Scarf. We wanted to see it be more of like a, okay, buff up Sky's weapon power build composition. It's so good at getting around, being very mobile around Spitfires and trying to pressure onto the backline. My concern is just that Glaive is going to be really good against Sky this game. If you reposition her, you knock her around and stop her from getting the Surrey Strike where she needs to be, and in order to deal the damage on the Waldemar, that could be absolutely huge. So keep your eyes on the engagements that happen between Kentusik and Palmatoro as we get into the fights later in the game.
It's an interesting composition, really, coming out from Team Secret. We actually saw it work for them in Game 2 when we said perhaps it would not, because they were relying on the Force Accords to try and get on towards that Sky. If they can get a good Force Accord off, if they can get some good early aggression off, they can definitely start to snowball the lead out of Snow Avalanche's favor. However, Snow Avalanche have a lot of long-range damage. They've got the pressure cooker you talked about. They've got the ability to displace Team Secret, and it makes it very difficult for Team Secret to win the game out as it goes on.
Man, this is going to be such a close one. What a game to end, potentially, an entire season on. Look at the damage here.
Bastion. Just about surviving. Palmatoro will get stunned up. Kentusik now the target. Takes a huge amount of pain from Palmatoro. Kvalifar's looking for it. Didn't have the burn, though. Now he'll take the pain in response. Heals himself up. Will he burn?
God.
Not quite enough. Both teams having people survive on less than 100 HP, get themselves out alive.
Less than 50. I mean, oh my... This is so tense, and you can only imagine how tense it is for the players, right? Kvalifar is an emotional guy, a really emotional guy. When they beat Mousesports the other day, it looked like he was about to tear up. You know, he was so absolutely in the moment. And right now, this is what it all boils down to. Their legacy is on the line. They really want to maintain it, push it forwards. They also want the guaranteed slot at Worlds. They want to show the world stage that it's not just Europe that they can dominate, it's everywhere else. Snow Avalanche, if they come in and after one season, coming all the way up from the Challenger Series, completely ruin that? What a statement.
What a statement indeed. Great balls of fire coming out here from Waldemar. Going to look to try and push back this wave. It would be incredible. Like Team Snow, yes, they've got Look at Me coaching them. He's got a wealth of experience, but this is a brand new lineup. It's a brand new roster for Snow Avalanche. They're looking for the win against Team Secret, who have won the last 3 splits pretty convincingly as well. They've always come in, well, first split they didn't, but after that first split where they came in as seed 8, they've come in as seed 1, and they've always been able to take it all the way through the finals. They still have that opportunity here, and trust me, they will be fighting for their lives, fighting for their right to get into that final game of this best of 5.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a look at some of the itemization choices coming out from the heroes on both sides. Waldemar, I think the interesting thing for me here is that he looks like he might be going towards an Eve quite quickly, rather than going directly into a Broken Myth. Perhaps he could still go for it. We'll see. Maybe he just wants that Void Battery. But I actually think an Eve would be quite good. You have so much power in the late game that just kind of making it a little bit easier to get there, I think, is a good plan. That said, I also wouldn't be that against something that is more of a straight damage item, or even, and this is going to be mind-blowing to you, a Frostburn. The reason being that you could get Contusik into these fights with the Arden as well, and crush down someone like Kvalifar or Palmatora quite quickly early game to snowball ahead a little bit.
Contusik looking for a bit of an engage here, coming around the side, has that afterburn available. It's not quite going to go in for anything yet. I actually saw Waldemar do this in the first couple of games he played Sky as well. He does, Scarf, sorry, he does actually build this way. Decima Bomb will come, Bastion being able to retreat away from it. Now Contusik has nowhere to go apart from up and into that bush, just keeps himself alive, and now Team Secret winning out the trade. So I actually expect Waldemar to build up towards that Shatterglass here, or into the Frostburn as well. He does get that early Void Battery when he's playing Scarf because of the energy regeneration, which you really do need to keep those fireballs coming out.
All right, you can see pressure onto the turret here from Team Secret. They do have some good damage early on, but Waldemar is finding nice Spitfires. It's going to force Team Secret back a little bit. Mowgli already has his Fountain picked up, so if a skirmish kicked off sometime soon, and I almost feel like maybe Team Secret, knowing that Bastion didn't have his, should make this rotation. Yeah, see what they're doing here. They're going towards the shop to stop Bash from being able to shop in the jungle. He has to go back to base to shop right now. There's no alternative for him to get the Fountain because the skirmish just would not go their way. I really like that rotation out of Team Secret. It shows they're being very heads up, and they're not succumbing to the pressure of this very intense situation.
It's an incredibly intense situation. I don't think I can stress actually how intense it is for both these two teams. You know, Team Secret fighting off for their collective lives in some respects, you know. When you are known as the top team in a region for so long, the pressure that builds onto you is so great. And Snow Avalanche as well, coming up from the Challenger Series, have such a wealth to prove here if they're able to take down.
Too. Yeah. This is the thing about Avalanche that you got to keep in mind. They have not had any chance to rest on their laurels because they've constantly been pushing up. Team Secret, they've been at the top for a while. You always hear Kvalifar say, I don't want to fall down. You know, we're just looking back to make sure the other teams aren't catching up with us, and we're trying to push ourselves forward. But right now, they've got a very real opponent right at the same level as them, from what I can tell in this series. They've got to really pay attention to what's going on here. Waldemar is going to get vanguarded out of there. You can see Mowgli trying to set up some kills. Team Secret want to get an advantage a little bit earlier on here. I think with the weapon Sky, this is what they should be doing. They just can't push it too far like Kvalifar almost did earlier on. Here comes the Gauntlet.
Here comes the Gauntlet. Kvalifar is going to try and get away from it, but the Afterburn comes down. Good double quibble. There's the Decima Bomb as well. Contusik
Dragon's Breath.
Yes, huge Dragon's Breath comes out as well. And already we see the surviving on Snow Avalanche. Contusik does get taken down. Power needs to try and dodge around. Can he take down Waldemar? The goop comes down. Bastion might be able to take him out. Not quite enough. Forward barrage comes down. Palmer will escape. Mowgli gets out alive as well. It's a 1-for-1 trade. So close there between these two teams.
Bastion, if he had blood for blood, that would have been the end of Palmatoro. He was on basically no health. Also, if Palmatoro had just maybe some attack speed, I actually think that fight would have gone their way, way harder. Right now, Sona is actually disrobing a little bit. It's getting hot in here with Scarf doing this Dragon's Breath. Very intense right now. There's the Crucible out of Mowgli. He knows that he needs to be able to deal with the gauntlets, make sure that Kvalifar doesn't get placed too far out of position. He's not exactly tanky enough to deal with Contusik and Waldemar's damage, so he does need to be able to be in a good position to get the Verses of Judgment off. Man, Sona, this is the best game we could have hoped for in this grand finals.
Definitely. Already so close as well. Trading 1-for-1 so early on. Only 200 gold the difference. Let's have a quick look across the items. Crucible and Fountain picked up onto Mowgli. Sorrow Blade, Palmatoro building up probably towards a breaking point as well as his second item. Kvalifar's got his alternating current, building up that reflex block as well early on. I like to see an earlier Crucible coming out from Bastion really here.
Bash does get pulled in there. You can see Death from above, kicking off a bit of a fight from Palmatoro. He wanted to set something up, but going to be a good reaction from Avalanche. They back away. I want to talk about Waldemar. He went for this Shatter Glass. If he can find good Spitfires for poke into Waldemar, or sorry, into Kvalifar, I think this could be okay. But overall, I mean, you heard Fuji mention this earlier. Broken Myth synergizes so well with Scarf, and going for a Shatter Glass, this is something you normally pick up like third. Yeah. So it has a very specific point. You know, it shoves waves quickly without you having to ramp up. It gets good poke down without you having to ramp up. He needs to be doing those things, and those things very well.
That he does. Look at this already. Both the teams in the lane, once again, neither of these teams really like to go for that aggressive counter early jungling, and what we begin to see is these big 3v3 fights as soon as they all get to around level 6. Mowgli does have that Force to Cord in about 5 seconds, so can look for the pull, but they're just going to back away for now. Waldemar does have about 1,500 gold to spend, so he'll be looking probably towards the Eve. That's what he built second last time.
Oh, here we go.
There is the goal. Kvalifar takes a lot of pain. Dragon's Breath is on him, and he will get taken out. Mowgli left alone, stranded. Palmatoro nowhere near the fight at all. Snow Avalanche will take down Mowgli as well. And Snow Avalanche with great rotations to catch out 2 members of Secret.
Team Secret have to be sweating right now, and I really think the tension is actually getting to them. Making a rotation down to the shop like that with no vision backing you up is so bold when Palmatoro isn't even there. He's the one who's able to stay on the back of the fight and do a lot of damage whilst all of the focus is on Kvalifar. You have to have him with you. Now Avalanche, with those 2 kills, are accelerating very rapidly to a late game Scarf build, and Palmatoro's not going crystal. Good block out of Palmatoro does stop that fight from kicking off in a real way from Avalanche, but they are testing Team Secret right now. They're testing them in every single way possible.
Team Secret on the ropes. It's the 4th round out of 5. We're getting down to the meat and potatoes of this best of 5 series here. And Team Secret look perhaps like they're flagging slightly. Perhaps not making the decisions they usually would. Not quite understanding how they want to play, but the Quibble comes down. Voldemar's going to get jumped off by Palmatoro, blocks out that afterburn as well. Bastion has to run through the death from above. Will just about escape. Good Quibble. Fountain comes out though, and now Team Secret cannot dive the turret. They're going to have to retreat away.
Look out for
Avalanche. They're looking for a re-engage onto Kvalifar. Kentasik very healthy here. Decides he doesn't quite want to go in. Team Secret will be able to back away. Snow Avalanche not done with this one yet.
I'm really surprised Kentusik didn't go for that. But, you know, let's be fair. Snow Avalanche are probably feeling a lot of pressure right now as well. They don't want to bite off too much in these fights. They're 1 win away from dethroning Team Secret. It's a Herculean task, but they're up for the task itself. You can see right now, Team Secret moving back towards the lane. Kentusik is going to find a little bit of poke damage here. I like that he's going for crit. I think that's a great plan against Palmatoro and Kvalifar. You want to kill them very quickly. Force to Cord
lands on 2. Voldemar will be able to push his way away. Gauntlet was cancelled there with the play company.
That's
Bastion not able to get it down. Kentasik's going to take a full forward rush to the face.
Oh,
and the Quibble as well. Palmatoro starting ripping through Snow Avalanche. They take down the kill, and now they can look for the turret.
That Quibble was on the very edge of not connecting. Dragon's Breath coming out.
Palmatoro's looking for the turret here, so he strikes around, trying to get around from Waldemar, but Waldemar now has no energy. Fountain is still available, Verse as well. Waldemar's been forced all the way away from his team. Once again, this positions in the fight, gets taken down with a forward barrage, and Snow Avalanche starting to fall.
That was not a good plan by Waldemar. You got to give up the turret after Kentusik dies here. Things could go very wrong off the back of that. Finally, Team Secret are actually going to steal away some camps that might put them in a good situation gold-wise, more so than they already are, which is about 1,000 gold lead. Man, these fights are so close.
Yeah.
You know, if a gauntlet didn't get canceled there,
that would have been
right?
beautiful.
Avalanche's initial engagement goes so much better. If the edge of the Quibble didn't happen, Team Secret probably don't pick up a kill. It is a game of inches, as I've said many times before. As you add up all those inches, you get a mile. Team Secret looking to go all the way. I don't know if they can do it here, though. Snow Avalanche is looking pretty strong. It's very close.
It's incredibly close. Team Secret on the back foot, on the ropes, trying to defend their royal lives. Kentasik gets pulled in with the Force Accord. The gold mine was taken there by Team Secret. And with Kentasik using his boots to get away, along with that afterburn, they don't want to take the fight just now. Let's have a quick look at items before Snow decide to fight again. In fact, they're going for it now. I'm not going to let you talk, AJ. Here comes the gauntlet. Cavalifar stunned up. Death from above is beautifully placed, though. Palmatora trying to dodge around the break. Can he get her out? There's the Story Strike. Dragon's Breath come down. Voldemort, 3 men in the pressure cooker. Gonna get taken incredibly low, but already Cavalifar and Palmatora can start turning the damage around. There is a fountain. It's being used already. Team Secret going to back away. Snow Avalanche didn't get anything out of that fight.
Good Lord, Sona. Well, they got a few back camps. I mean, they found some pressure on the map, but it's certainly not what they were looking for. You could argue, though, that in a trade like that...
Oh, you could argue that Snow Avalanche aren't quite done yet. Death from above, all in one spot. Bash is going to get taken so low, so quick. He goes down. Kennestick will stun up Palmatora, but you have to give this off to Team Secret. They've got the advantage. They've got the forward push. They've got the forward barrage, and they'll take down Kennestick as well. Waldemar has to try and retreat. So low on energy, though, on this Scarf. Can Mowgli pull him in? He's got the Force Accord. He's got the Polite Company. There it goes. Crucible. Actually, Reflex Bot comes out there. Burst used as well. Mowgli just surviving. Forward barrage once again onto Voldemar. Voldemar needs to be careful. He's the sort of player who will go for this fight, and he needs to not go for this fight.
I agree with you. I feel like Snow's pushing their luck a little bit too much in this game. They're so close. Guys, don't do this to yourselves. They need a broken myth on Scarf, and then they can win these fights. The damage isn't there on Cavalifar yet. You saw actually 2 or 3 Spitfires out of Waldemar land onto Cavalifar, but it doesn't do enough because there's an Aegis on Cavalifar and no broken myth on Waldemar. As well as that, I also feel like target focus is something that Snow needs to be careful about.
Yeah.
Going for Cavalifar there initially to force him to run away, great plan, but you got to swap on to Palmatora when Kentusic makes that change. Things are very tense. We're at 15+ minutes. Kraken's on the map, and there's only 2,000 gold within this game. Avalanche are so close they can taste it.
It tastes like victory. Delicious, cheesy victory from Snow Avalanche here. Looking to see, I don't know why it's cheesy. I like cheese.
I love cheese too, but you caught me on off guard with that one, I gotta be honest.
Snow Avalanche looking for it. Oh, look at that fan vote, still 80%. This is for Game 4 of the Grand Finals after Snow Avalanche are 2-1 up. Snow Avalanche have proved themselves better than that fan vote, 20% to 80%.
When was this vote taken, though? Right after the last fight? I can kind of understand it, if they all came in.
Oh, Force Accord, blocked out with the Reflex. There's still a Crucible available, 30 seconds on that, 20 seconds, though, on that Force Accord. So it's starting to get to that cooldown where he can use it time and time and time again. Death from above is used. That's a big cooldown for Team Secret. They need to back away for about 20 seconds before they'll have that one back up.
All right, Team Secret, they're taking position on the map right now. Off the back of that last fight, they certainly feel like they can, and I think that they can until Waldemar picks up a broken myth for himself. There's another Force Accord.
Crucible.
Yeah, good Crucible coming out. I didn't actually quite land. Waldemar did dodge it by himself, but you want to be safe in this situation, that's for sure.
That's actually a big thing, though, because yesterday we saw Team Secret winning fights because their Crucible wasn't used, because of Crucible discipline from Mowgli. When those Force Accords miss, you need to try and keep your Crucible off. I know it's incredibly difficult, but that can be the inch that defines a great team from a team that gets knocked out in the finals.
If you're going to use my words like that, I'm not going to disagree with you. But at the same time, I understand how terrifying that is for Avalanche. I mean, look at the situation they're in. Let's talk builds real quick. Although, well, never mind. Waldemar,
just used.
He's got a Crystal Infusion. He actually slowed down his Broken Myth to get that. I like it. I think he needs to. All right, this next fight's going to be super critical. I don't know about Tornado Trigger on Kentusic. It's bold.
Tornado Trigger is incredibly bold. We have seen this build before, though, and it worked out for them that time.
I mean, look at the last fight, okay? Just for a point of reference, Kentusic actually died very quickly. He went in and he was disruptive and he bought time for Waldemar, but if Waldemar doesn't have Broken Myth, doesn't have enough damage, then Kentusic being that disruption only amounts to so much. So I think maybe I would have gone more defense and then later built like a Tyrant's Monocle. That could have accomplished the same kind of thing, but on a better timeline for me.
He hasn't got any tier 3 defense items yet, so I totally agree with you. Having that tier 3, maybe a metal jacket or an Aegis or something along those lines, just to give himself that little bit more tankiness, would have helped out a lot. Team Secret, I almost called them Team Snow there. Oh, 2-man! Bastion gets stunned up with the
Vanguard.
There's the death from above. Vanguard tries to get him away, but will it be enough to get away from Palmatora? There's the stun on Palma with the gauntlet, though. Voldemar pops the Dragon's Breath, looking for the chase onto Cavalifar. They will be able to escape, but now Kentusick jumped in with the afterburn. He has Broken Myth, as you say. He's getting those stacks. He's on 4 already. Bastion now the target. 12 stacks sitting up, and here comes Kentusick. Going to take a Quibble to the face. Voldemar, can he survive underneath his turret? Not for long. Polite Company into Quibble takes him down, and Bastion Bastion, the man who was engaged on, is still alive. But here comes Palmator. He says, not for long, Bastion, I'm going to take you down. Winter may be coming, but it's summer at the moment, and Team Secret are looking to take this to a game 5.
Let's have a look at this replay, because that fight was absolutely intense. Broken Myth popped on the side of Waldemar right before that fight, but he needs to get into the fight, and a gauntlet got popped there, which kind of luckily, let's be real, hit onto Palmatoro there, but that does give an opportunity for now Waldemar to get into the fight. You can see Kentusik trying to get on the back line. He didn't go in tandem with Bash, though, or in tandem with the Dragon's Breath that was coming out of Waldemar. If the cohesion was there from Avalanche, I feel like that goes a bit better. I still think that after seeing the fight again, especially, they just shouldn't have picked it.
Yeah.
They should have, if Bash was going to die, so be it, right? Or maybe you just dissuade them with the Dragon's Breath. Because now, with Kraken going across to Team Secret, it's all or nothing. And we've seen in these situations how ridiculous these game-ending pushes can be.
There's no Lyra in this game, so we're not going to have the crazy enemy team Arcane Passage backdoor that we saw in Game 3, which
What a play.
Easily one of the best plays I've ever seen in Vainglory. To make that decision in that moment, I think you could see he was thinking about it as well. He's like, if they engage on me, I just go for it. I just go for it, because otherwise I'm dead. Superb play, of course, by Voldemar in that game. This game, struggling a little bit to keep away from Team Secret. Mowgli with the Force Accord will bring in Kentusik. Cribble misses, though. He's able to afterburn away. His 8-second cooldown there, though. And it means as this Kraken pushes in, Team Secret can be ever so slightly more aggressive.
Forced Accord is up in another 6 seconds. We have Contraption and Stormcrown on Mowgli right now. You have to just, like, go. If you're Snow Avalanche, you just have to go. You can't play around here.
Force Accord onto Bastion. The Gauntlet comes down. It's blocked again.
That's actually fine, though. Like, it's not ideal, but it's fine, because Waldemar is getting good poke down.
That he is. The Kraken's down to half, but the first Crystal Turret will fall. Kabalithar, here comes the Dragon's Breath. They're looking for that Adagio.
Quibble!
Great Quibble from Mowgli, and now Voldemar has to retreat. So low energy on him. Bastion trying to fight off Palmator off towards the side. Death from above comes down. The Kraken's still pushing in for that main Crystal Turret. There is the Force Accord onto Kentusik once again. The turret will fall, and Palmator is just going to turn his attention to the crystals. That's all he wants. He wants the crystals. He wants the opals. He wants Game 5. Team Secret are going to take it to the final game of the series. They are still undefeated in series here at the Light Championships, and they're trying to take it to the final game.
Look at the looks of relief on Team Secret's face. Yes, that was a fairly convincing game from them, but that doesn't stop you in the moment from feeling like things could collapse at any moment. And after the series they've had, after the tournament they've had, compared to previous tournaments, this has been so difficult for Team Secret. You know, Mouse Sports put up a huge fight yesterday. Then you've got the finals kicking off here with Snow Avalanche leading 2-1, being 1 win away. It all comes down to this next game, Sona. I cannot wait to see the craziness that is about to ensue.
It's a best of 1. It's Team Secret versus Team Snow, and it's over to you on our analyst desk.
You know, we talk a lot about caster math, but I think Sona gets his own degree in it because just the reduction is absolutely on point. But on point, Team Secret, they got themselves that fin. Those hooks, he went fishing, and it looks like they got a bite, and here they are, Game 5.
Yeah, well, it's going to be either 47-6 or 46-7. One of the two will be happening here, and what an incredible series this has been thus far.
Yeah, I mean, these games are so close, each one of them just having a little bit of an edge in the favor of one team or the other. I don't think Team Secret expected for this to go the full gamut of 5 games coming into the finals. When I talked to Kabalithar right before the game started, he seemed pretty confident, pretty relaxed, but Avalanche has really stepped it up. They went from being a very underperforming team in day 1 to performing incredibly strong on day 3. But there are a couple of things they really need to focus in on. I still think they have to really change some of their build paths, have a little bit of a better understanding when we're playing these late game carries like Scarf. You don't want to be picking up a Broken Myth and Infusion right before the game ends. You want to pick these items up much earlier, and considering there's a lot of shielding being prioritized from Team Secret, having a Broken Myth, having an Eve right out of the gate is going to get you way more for your money than doing this Shatter Eve build first.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the itemization has really been one of the big things we've been focusing on. The draft is obviously the biggest focus for us, but then once you're in the game, at this level of play, the main difference does end up being your build decisions and your priorities. You know, the positioning is one thing, but it's so easy to fix the positioning. The positioning is oftentimes just a simple mistake, but the build path, the build priorities, that's a focused decision that you're making. And Waldemar, like you said there, he did get the Broken Myth, but he didn't get the broken myth until we were about 20 minutes into this one, and that was just it. You don't have that effect, and you saw earlier in fights that were happening throughout this game, he'd get down these great Dragon's Breaths, hitting the entire team and doing maybe a quarter of their health.
Yeah, it just definitely wasn't quite enough damage. And we look at Contusic's build here on Glaive, like a Tornado Trigger really isn't going to do that much because you're not spending extended time just whacking away at these guys. Like if anything, try to put some more money into a second Crucible. Once again, Scarf is your late game carry. You're not going too much for early game pressure. We saw these teams barely even go into each other's jungles until the late game. They love clearing their own jungles, going up to lane, doing a 3v3 for a little while, then dropping back, rinse and repeat. And if your goal is to just stalemate long enough for the Scarf to get his items, you really should look to get the second Crucible versus this late game Finn that continually just throws these hooks out.
Yeah, and then on the other side for Secret, this game, the build itemizations, I loved coming out of them. You saw Kvalifar went for the alternating current, broken myth, and then into a Frostburn. And I really like the Frostburn pick here on the Adagio. You're really just trying to slow down your opponents so that Palmotoro on the sky with the Sorrow Blade and Breaking Point is able to just dance around and continuously get out those auto attacks. We saw by the end of the game, I mean, Kvalifar and Mowgli completely kept Waldemar and Bash occupied while Palmotoro just sat there and 1v1'd Bastion down underneath the crystal. And because they had that amount of slow and crowd control coming out from the Adagio and the Finn, they were able to do that. They were able to keep Palmotoro safe. That's that front line that we keep talking about in these compositions. Palmotoro didn't die a single time.
Yeah, and then we also saw a couple of times where the gauntlet got clipped right before it landed by Finn Quibble, stopping what could have been a really good re-engage or defensive maneuver. And when Waldemar actually went back to purchase his broken myth, we were all getting really excited because he had an infusion. He finally had the money to pick it up. But then Bastion, for some reason, decided to stay too far forward. They actually got hooked in even with the Crucible available, and that's something you can't do. Like, this is the finals. If you know your teammate's back shopping and the entire enemy team is staring you in the face, you should go hide behind your turret. Like, it's okay. No one's going to make fun of you for being a little bit passive behind your turret waiting for your buddy to get back.
Absolutely not. But again, you mentioned it there. Mowgli with this Finn. Absolutely incredible. Those quibbles were just landing so perfectly, like just a little bit of corner of the quibble connecting and getting those stuns. I mean, he's made a name for himself with this hero and absolutely showed why there.
Yeah.
I will say that Waldemar, I think 90, 95%, somewhere in there, he is really on point with those reflex blocks. Because not only do you talk about the late game Scarf here, Fuji, but the late game Finn, like Mowgli coming into that third point into the ultimate and just that cooldown with the reduction, 14, 15 seconds, 12 if you hit Bacon, you were telling me. And from there, it was just, you're not going to have enough. As you said, another Crucible would have been great. But the whole series, Waldemar, it's like he has another finger just hovering over that button because it is very rare that he actually gets caught by these things.
Yeah, that's very true. He blocked so many of those force to cores. And it's a good thing late game when you block those force to cores, they're like a minute cooldown. Not. 12 seconds later, you got to block something else. I mean, it's just so crazy to see Mowgli on this pick, pulling these guys over and over again into the team, and Scarf just having trouble finding an ultimate that can last the entire time through.
Yeah, I almost actually would have even liked to see Waldemar maybe get a second reflex block. Obviously, it's tough to do because you're trying to get these damage items out. You're trying to, use your gold as efficiently as possible. But once you have those reflex or the forced accords coming out that quickly, there's so much that you need to reflex block that sometimes it can be worth it to just invest in a little bit more and keep that last item slot as just a tier 2 item.
All right, gentlemen, it's game 5, the draft, the very last matchup here for the championship. Who's it going to be?
Well, I'm going to wait until we get the draft finished, I
Who's
think.
it gonna pick?
That's cheating. So I have to say that I feel like Team Secret will probably end up taking this even before seeing the draft because I think it's going to resolve here. They've definitely been playing a lot in this situation. The pressure is high. I think they may be able to pull it out. We do see Avalanche go with the Sam ban. This is what they've done the entire time in this series, and then Adagio on the return.
Yeah, the Team Secret not going to be opting to go for the leave open Adagio Lyra, let their opponents have one, take the other. Instead, it's going to be Avalanche able to take this Lyra, but you have to wonder, Secret, they obviously know that it's a very high probability of this Lyra pick going through. They very likely have a plan to deal with it.
Yeah, I would say so. We definitely do see the Lance Lance, the Samuel, the Adagio, the Lyra, almost always kind of in that first 4 rotation. But Team Secret does have the ability to pick up Finn here if they want to go fishing again for the last game. It does look like they do, and Sky. So if it worked
Fishing
before,
for a Grand Slam.
yes, right. If it worked before, why fix it? The real question will just be their counter pick, which I'm sure they're happy waiting to see the rest of Avalanche's draft before they decide that.
Yeah, it's not quite going to be the same thing because of the Adagio being banned away. So they'll have to make some sort of change here. But as you mentioned, it all depends on what Avalanche picks. And here comes a Koshka.
This is pretty risky for Game 5 of the finals, considering that you can see Finn and Sky. These are later game scaling.
I don't like this.
This is the last pick coming out of Avalanche to see what they decide is going to be with the Koshka and Lyra. Hovering the Kestrel, making us all wait in anticipation.
I really don't like this at all from Snow Avalanche. I have to be completely honest. You have this Sky. You've seen Palmatoro go off on this Sky as a carry, and you pick a team of 3 heroes that are all going to get melted very quickly because they have very low health bars, and you're not going to have the ability to just blow up the Sky. And a Rona for the last pick. Oh my goodness, Team Secret and Snow Avalanche pulling out all the stops in game number 5.
All right, a champion will emerge, and with the encore performance, it's Action Jackson and Sona.
A champion will rise indeed. Will it be Team Secret, 3 times champion already looking for the Grand Slam? Or will it be Team Snow?
Who do you think? And then I'll say who I think.
From the draft, I think Team Secret.
I
From my
agree.
heart, which is cold as ice, I have to say Team Snow.
Well, you know, okay, we got to talk about that a little bit. Because the draft, you mentioned it, and Bacon mentioned it, and I feel like a lot of people are thinking it. It's a bit weird from Avalanche, right? Like, you have Lance up. You can go Lyra, Lance into Sky, and you don't? That's kind of crazy to me. That said, I'm also kind of surprised that we see a Rona pick. Like, Rona into Lyra is bold. That's really, really bold. Because you've got 2 dashes that can get canceled out by Bright Bulwark. You've already got Sky, who's going to be struggling with that. It's not as if... I mean, maybe this is to deal with Koshka jumping on them. That is the
strength, because Rona,
Rona
does a lot of damage for how tanky she can build. Already we see a trade here into Bastion, Palmatoro putting the damage down, actually going for the Crystal Sky this time instead of Weapon.
I think his Crystal Sky is a little bit better than his Weapon Sky.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, that's my personal opinion on it, but I feel like also in this situation, 2 for 2 in the grand finals, when you're looking at your 4th title, you play the thing you're comfortable with, and that's what Palmatoro has been playing for seasons on it. But I feel like also in this situation,
we talked about this before, actually, because Pocket Rona is what I once before in this championship. They said they could play against anything but Sky, and by taking the Sky away, of course, it allows him to pick it up. It has the strength in the fact that he can trade pretty effectively into anyone, and doesn't really struggle too much. But I love this from Snow Avalanche. What we've seen time after time is Secret going for the early turrets, and now Snow Avalanche are looking for that pressure on the Tau turrets to see if they can take those down.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to jump in there. It's hard to lock Contusik down, at least this early on, until Mowgli maybe gets the overdrive on Quibble, for example. So he's able to just juke around the turret and be kind of a nuisance on the backlines. It's also making Kvalifar's life a little bit difficult. If he's not in the straight-up 1 versus 1, I think some of that lane Rona pressure disappears.
Especially into something like a Lyra, whose auto attacks, such long range, such powerful ability to harass down the enemy lane. And Mowgli quibbles the minions. Take that to the face. Sometimes, you know, you get at arguments with little minions. Sometimes, you know, they just can't fight up against you properly, so you have to quibble them.
Put them in their place.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I want to touch on here real quick before we get into the meat of the game, because we're still just kicking things off. I would have preferred to see Lyra banned and let Adagio through. Lyra shuts down the Rona to a certain extent, and the Sky to a certain extent.
Bright Bulwark is incredibly powerful.
I don't know if Adagio does it quite the same way.
The risk with Adagio is... Firstly, secondly, you can run Adagio lane, have Kestrel in the jungle, and have that really powerful agent of Wrath onto Kestrel, who gives weapon power, gives you a huge damage spike. You get long range damage as well. I think Adagio would really, really shut down Rona in the laning phase, in all honesty, because of that range. It would be so difficult to actually stick onto the Adagio, because if you get close to him, Gift of Fires himself, you start to take burn damage, he pops the Agent of Wrath, you start to take extra damage, he gets energy back. It's an incredibly difficult laning matchup.
Yeah, that is a fair point. Let's just keep our eyes on how Bastion's doing on this Lyra, whether or not it's effective at shutting down Kvalifar and Palmatoro the way that I expect it could be. That's the real saving grace for Avalanche. Koshka jumping in here, looking for some damage.
And Six going to take some pain as well from that turret. Going to have to back away. Palmatoro doing a great job on that Sky to put that forward barrage down. We've only seen a couple of Koshkas this tournament. Hasn't worked out too well thus far. I think it's got a 0% win rate if I remember correctly.
It works really nicely with the Lyra, though, kind of like a Kroll. Whenever you have something that frontlines and just jumps in, having that speed boost and the additional heal to help can be very, very useful. I do think as well that the pressure early is going to stop Kvalifar from getting to the point at which he can do Rona things, right? Like Rona needs like a Serpent's Mask. Once you have a Serpent's Mask, then your Red Mist becomes ridiculously good if you get it on 1 or even 2 people. But up until that point, it's somewhat mediocre, if I'm honest. So if Contusik can keep applying pressure, I think maybe they can stop Team Secret from getting any early advantages, which would be massive. We'll have to see how Avalanche does that, though. Right now, the focus is very heavily on the lane, which makes sense with Lyra. Mowgli doesn't have a good answer yet.
Yeah, both these teams have been so heavily lane focused as well. Ken6 looking for that turret once again. Kvalifar is going to see if he can get him off it, but Mowgli and Kvalifar realize they need to back away, not making the mistake that Voldemar made in the last game of staying around for too long. First turret has fallen, so now Avalanche only 4 minutes in, playing a great push competition. Mowgli uses the Blight Comedy to keep himself alive. Palmatoro jumps in from the side as well with that Soul Strike. He actually really saved his Finn's life there.
The evolution of the push comp, it once and almost always has involved Saw, now it involves Koshka.
Who needs Saw?
You know, I think it's interesting. It's worth noting that Contusik, of course, is going to have these augmented attacks that do a lot of damage. He's very hard to lock down, so he can just run around the turret, basically, ring around the Rosie whilst he gets the damage down. And Lyra and, of course, the Kestrel are also quite good at sieging early.
I think there's always a lot of problems when I see Saw. Mowgli's going to take a lot of damage here as Ken6 jumps in. Will be able to back away with the Blight Company. Yeah, when you see Saw, there's lots of up and downs, and it's not as powerful, perhaps, as the Koshka can be. You okay there?
Come on. All right. Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. I remember Seesaws from my childhood. No, I'm just kidding. I'm talking about Vangler. So, look, Team Secret, they've already lost a turret. Obviously, that's not a great position to be in. But Kvalifar has now picked up a Serpent's Mask. My concern is that he's a little bit behind on experience, and he needs to hit level 6. That's a big point for Arona in the game.
You need
if
that
he doesn't get it, he can't really do anything when Contusik jumps in, I feel.
I really like this actually from Snow Avalanche, because whenever we've seen Koshkas in the past, it's all been about almost being like Taka, you know, jumping in, assassinating a target, jumping out, trying to get that consistent damage down. And Snow Avalanche have said, we don't want to do that. We'll just take the
assassinate
turret.
turrets.
We'll take the turret down, man. You can't assassinate a machine, I'm just saying. This is not iRobot.
All right.
Okay.
I think I would disagree with you, given that Palmatoro has on Sky many times been assassinated.
But Sky's a human being inside a mech.
You're just being pedantic.
Just being correct,
no,
I believe, is what you mean. Palmatoro's gone Frostburn here.
He went Frostburn first. Okay, so yes, this is going to slow down Koshka. The problem is that Koshka has a very low cooldown on Pouncy Fun. Like, really, really low. Obviously, it's not super low right now, but once she puts more ranks into it and also gets those resets, it's going to be crazy. And I think with the movement speed boost that you get, it's enough to kind of mitigate some of that fast burn.
No Avalanche want this fight. They want to engage. Blight Company comes down, Team Secret don't want to chase it. We'll just back away. I mean, this Kvalifar not being level 6 yet. Mowgli not being level 6 yet. There's already Crucible on Bastion as well. He's got that first item.
Hai ở cao quận này chưa cao quận sửa chẳng hỏi này chẳng cứ ở phía má cho nên là mưa hạ ở Secret với Snow là có lượt tiến nhưng mà còn mưa đá của ấy trụ nhắn thêm vì nhắn hiện ở mưa có stand học từ stand mới đã stand được trong tiếng ok yeah sorry Sky mình thêm lại Sky ra đấy yeah phải thêm một đấy Snow lên hầm bò nó họ tâm lít có Sky yeah trời đất bánh ngồi mà Snow lên hầm bò hay mà nó này đấy tuổi hè nó qua gì early game hảo hay Secret bản thân thì có không phần chục đo hiện lên chưa rồi vì ai chục số nhiều bạn binh hết trả lời của bạn thì được của giờ bên cứ được đánh trẻ đó phía ủa nè rồi anh phôi giờ lại
by Bastion. You know, he did set up a good opportunity for his team to fight, and also Contusic with the Shatter Glass.
Hai
Was
em
that
xong
damage
sẽ
onto Palmatoro? Palmatoro
team
just disappeared.
team
It's
Secret
absolutely huge.
Van
If you
rồi
get that
hai
Yomi
đang
cabinet
ở một
frenzy
đá
down and it's not reflex
cứ
box,
team
and
cầm mũi
already Palmatoro still doesn't
Đài
have that
mau
reflex
bị
box. He's
official là
not
mũi
got the ability to get
thì
out
nó
of
tới
that
cứ
skill.
phay tỏ
There's
mau
no
bị cái lại là
crucible
mũi
on Mowgli
còn
either.
hết
They
rồi
don't have the ability to stop that Yomi cabinet frenzy. Lance
Just picked it up. So Palmatoro for the next fight.
nè mau mà team nó lên là được tam team nó lên là Secret
It's all
chứ
good. But that said, you still got to worry about the bright bulwark, the stun coming
nhưng
out.
mà ở
of
Secret
potentially
con ai
good
vô
damage out of
lượt tiên nó
Palmatoro.
lừa
Mabub will come down, Bastion will
Van
get
rồi
pulled in.
đi ra
Kensick
rồi
jumps in, but
nhập
gets the
rồi
red
rồi
mist to the face. Kensick having to try and scupper his way away. Palmatoro will fall to Voldemar, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Bastion and Voldemar going to step forward. Kalabalafar looking for the fray. He's got the red mist if he wants to go in. Mowgli takes a huge
Hôm nay họ tới đã thì mất
Kalabalafar
chọc
trying to heal
xanh
himself.
được quá phía xíu liền lại ra mặt mày nó quá shot bao hiện ra Holy shit.
But Bastion wants
Oh,
to chase him down.
phía xíu
They
hụt
do
tới
get the Principal Arcane and Voldemar looking for the Glimmer Shot across the wall. Kalabalafar needs to try and
Trời.
jump away from this one.
Xong lại vậy
Misses the Glimmer. Voldemar does not anticipate.
nhóm
Kalabalafar
hiền
going
10 kg.
down. Mowgli just about gets through there.
Mấy
Oh,
người
let's
nghĩa
follow
vậy.
it. Here it goes, guys. Is it going to take him down? Can Mowgli... Oh, Mark.
Mark's trolling us.
Mark's trolling us.
He like began that and then didn't commit. Oh well.
A bit like Team Secret in a lot of these fights, not able to
Yeah,
commit
I like it, man.
completely onto the Snow Avalanche backline.
Okay, so in that fight,
ra mũi
we saw
kiếm chỗ mà một
Kavalar not
kiên
use his
chỗ
reflex block
oh
appropriately at the
And
end.
stop
here's a Yami Cody
chân
finish.
nào cũng thiên có kiên mà lỗ drop stand nó lừa
Cái
ok ai dùng hết lại ra họ máy lại ra khổm với Rona pass mùi mình khi xíu đấy ai dùng hết thì Rona post cái họ được chơi toàn thì lại ra họ block here máy
Mowgli looking for something across the wall, not going to get it. Now that was such an interesting interaction because the force the cord
okay
pulled him
xong
out of Yami
về đúng tới
Cody,
bộ qua
but
cuộc
the
thiên
stun
hàng lại
remained.
anh nghe kia
Yeah,
ba này
that
nghe kia
stun was big
một
in
thời
that
đại
fight
giao
because
ký trái
Palmatoro
tầm
was
kia ban
actually
tuôn
dealing
tuôn
damage
phi cho
during that time. It would have been a big, very
Thì chọn
different
sẽ là phải
story.
giặt thằng tụi bọn
Palma
ngọt
not
mùi
really
muối
had
nó
the
phải
reflex
giặt
block
thằng
that
này
he
kìa
needed to there. Again,
Oh,
if
okay,
he
so
did,
it's in
imagine how
like
differently
one
the
round.
fight goes. But Team Secret, they're showing that if things go well for
Tại
them, they can
bà
win
mới
fights,
tới
but they're
thiên
just
luôn
not
á
getting
tôi
those
quay
things
thì
to
kia
go well
bật
for them. So
farm mà
Avalanche is
lỗ
outplaying them right now.
hay ở bài
It's
thời đó
game
tí
five
cái
here,
Secret
Action
nơi tờ
Jackson.
farm trên ngày
This
thiên
is
ban sổ
great.
lại
This is for all the potatoes, all
Ôi,
the
chuyện
tomatoes, all
thôi
the whatever you want. It's for all the glory you get from being the EU Live Championships winners, the best in Europe. And Team Secret have held that crown
It's
for
bigger
3
than that,
splits.
too. It's bigger than that, because either way it goes, you're either dethroning 3-time champions or you're becoming a 4-time champion. That's much bigger than just winning a championship.
No.
That is massive. These teams have so much on the line.
Nó
There's
còn thành
pride,
một
there's
early
the
game thì
slot
nó
of
lại chập
worlds,
mặt
there's the prize money, the lion's
sân chỉ
share of
ở
it.
tới đó thì lên
Man,
game tiếp
you've
các
got to
bạn đi
imagine things are becoming so stressful. It's at this point that your team's communication becomes super critical. Their ability to just instinctually react when the engagement happens, everything comes into question.
That communication as well over the roar of the crowd. You can hear it whenever a kill goes
yeah.
down in these fights. You can hear that crowd.
But
And it's so
Oh.
difficult to maintain composure under that degree of pressure. Team Secret have done this. They've been on this position so many times before. They were the 8th seed
Oh,
when they
hay
won
quá
it
vậy đấy.
last autumn, and now they were the 9th seed, yes. Because of, yeah. Anyway, Team Secret now the 1st seed. Being
một cái này
fought
Snow gặp
up
thằng
against
chơi
by
một
Snow
bộ
Avalanche,
nói
only
ở
come up
farm
from the challengers.
Oh,
Snow Avalanche
cái
looking
có
for
kịch
the
bản
fight,
lên
not
mình
going to
ta.
be able to get onto Mowgli. He does get himself away. Palmato's got that frostburn building up towards his own broken myth. Kuvalafar building a little bit of defense here and there. Let's have a look at Voldemar as well. He's got a breaking point and a Sorrow Blade, so that is a very big Kestrel at the moment.
There's a lot of upfront damage on Snow, but especially after, for example, when Eve comes out on Palmatoro, in addition to the fact that
Ồ,
Cauliflower
bữa
Serpent's Mask, they're going to be able to come
chừng
back
bữa
into
con
fights.
Minion
So I
Man
do feel like
vai
Snow
rồi
does
mang
need
bán
to turn up
bọn
the
si
heat a
từ
little
đó
bit. I
tuyết
know
trái
I
gỗ
helped
cứ
them,
ban thần tầm
but
thay
they
bèm
also
khe
want
hay
to know
khang
Team
si kít
Secret right now.
một thấy khe và
I
hai
feel
kia
like if the game goes too long, Palmatoro, if he
si
gets
kít
good
còn nó
reflex
được chưa thọ
blocks,
lôi ban chọn được
can
lại
just kite around,
không
pick
hiểu hai
plays.
thèm
It's
khe
something we've seen with Koshkas as well. I remember Koshka being 10-0 and them almost losing out the game. In fact, I think that might have been Palmatoro.
It
being
was
10-0 on that Koshka. They almost lost out that game. And now it's so difficult. In fact, was that against Mouse where they did lose? I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, Koshkas can get so far ahead and not be able to close out games because of those crucibles, because of those reflex blocks, because of the ability of Team Secret to reposition and start the fight again and restart that fight. Snow Avalanche
Tâm
They're
xuống
waiting for it. They've
lại
got a
ra
beach
họ
set up
máu.
here. Kavalafar's
Oh.
here, step forward, but are they going to be able to
Cột
engage on
bây giờ
that
học
moment?
sinh Norway.
Does just jump away with the into the fray. Glimmershot's doing a huge amount of work.
Okay,
No
cột
armor
tới
on
thế đó.
Palmator yet, so
Thương
not
mày
able
trên này
to
thì
tank
nó
up
dần.
any of those shots.
Sky
That was
giờ có
about
trên
40%
ọp rồi.
of Palmator's
Được không
health
biết ngon này.
from like not a full commit out of Snow Avalanche. That was
Double Glimmer, that's all it takes.
Yeah, that was
Được
very
không?
little
Quá,
effort
buông hàng mỗi
for
buổi.
very much reward. So right now, Team Secret, I think they keep playing it slow, right? After you test the waters like that, or I mean, I guess Avalanche were trying to dive in, but Team Secret made it so
A
they
little
could.
flowy from them.
Luôn
Yeah, I
hai
feel
mươi
like
đứa đấy.
you now know
Okay,
where you
block
stand.
hand with now
Especially
Sky.
with Katusik, next time you see him on the map, you're going to see that
Mười
he
lăm nè,
has
man.
a broken myth. Look at the vision coming out of Snow Avalanche. They're like,
Mà rồi,
Team
nó thay
Secret,
mũi
there's no
rồi.
way you're catching us out. We're not even thinking that that is a possibility for a comeback
Thailand
out
còn
of you
khó sang
guys.
gì ở KCL
Also
nào.
got Tyrant's Monocle now in Waldemar. He's on 3 tier 3 items already. Farming so well this
Sky
game,
hit
20
yeah,
ahead of
Nè
Kavalathar.
cái xẻo cái đẹp hay ở
is
vậy
a
don't
bit
do.
of a lead against
Xí cái
Katusik,
bật
but
farm.
the damage is all there
Hiện
for
mang
Avalanche.
cho
They just
mang
need
tay
to
ở
find the
bộ
positioning.
con nơi tập farm mang ở trong phố cổ cứ nơi tập farm và hạ bài kia học kia tên lại Sky và sân gì ở team xây hòm nè lên mấy gự tập bắn nó bạch farm Sky ba cái team bố có giờ làm láng để luôn tới gự ở khi ở farm mấy cổ on nghe steel band nhìn như vậy.
Mowgli wants something out of this though. They really need to try and get down towards that minion mine, stop these minions consistently pushing into their base.
You were mentioning Crucible there. I question Mowgli not getting one. It's tough right now. Here's the thing. If
Bây giờ
Mowgli
ngay
gets a
ra trên
Crucible,
ball tên nó xả
then
nó
he's
không
saying,
bốc mạnh
all
thế.
right, maybe I don't
bốc
necessarily
đá
trust
rồi.
Palmator Kavalathar to get the reflex blocks, but I'm guaranteeing
Someone's gonna
that,
get it.
someone's going to get out of that
Run the
situation.
ball.
But it does mean that you can't commit to another item. So it's a
Sky
really
là
tough
bạn
call.
Wilson.
I admire Mowgli for having this level of trust in his teammates,
Sky là bạn
but I
muối.
wouldn't take the risk personally.
Ồ, là
Maybe
chặn
that's
được
just
một
me.
trận
Team
một
Secret,
muối.
gotta be
Chọn
careful
role
right
này
now.
nó yeah, role này họ khói. Khỏi chạy đấy.
On one spot, but he should be okay. Should be able to get out of this
Còn
one.
còn chết bộ
He's
phim
gonna be
bên cho.
okay. He's gonna be okay, AJ.
God.
You're like an anxious
I'm
mother.
a ball of nerves right now. This game's
On your
ridiculous.
seat. 4 kills to 2, 15
Ôi,
minutes
Sky
in, but
bên
there's
Fusion
so
máu.
much more action than that scoreline portrays. I actually think Mowgli's going
Minion
towards more
man.
treads here. He has got that Dragon Heart, of course, can build that up towards a Crucible.
It's also a good item, right?
What?
Like, it makes
Fusion
sense.
I was
goes
about to
there.
say, what I like about the Crucible,
Like
though,
a
is
hundred.
active camo stuns as well. And we've seen
Right,
Kavalathar
right.
chasing into that active camo time after time
Oh, wow.
and being caught out. Double
Secret map.
infusion
Okay,
now
drop
on the
one
side
of
of
it.
Snow
Mark
Avalanche. They're
my
looking
arm
for the fight. Triple infusion, in
In
fact.
fact, they're sitting in this
Okay,
bush
check
here.
Fusion.
Out of range. This is a weird one for them to
Tới
sit
rồi,
in.
cô Sky họ stand lừa Sky. Ok, what together lừa Sky. Bạch Sky bật họ trap lên thường luôn. Ok. They can only bring you the south is still. Okay, role này họ change the week. Thì có tiếng là one shot one here. Ok, cô Sky thì nãy vừa lừa thương đánh bắn hỏi. Nên sao rồi role này mẹ. Chúng mơ replay moment này. Chúng mơ bị họ tới cô Sky họ mà stand lừa Sky bắn bắn on này thì gần. Right. Ok, lại ra teleport cho lên. À thì mẹ từ đó nó sẽ lại kia siêu lá thay ở có họ tranh với mang luôn kìa. Ok, ra hình tranh màu một bốc lại nó bốc lấy hàm bốc hàm một tí cứ ban on này. Các bạn đấy Heroes can snowboard ở in that early game hay ở ban vậy tới cuộc gặp khi dùng thằng thì mà bốc là chắp bạch mà ở
It's
nhau
always
shot
been a
không mà thấy
Herculean
làm tí cho khổ mấy bạn
task to take down Team Secret, but Snow Avalanche
hay họ đọc
looking
hàm một tí tranh máu
for their
ra
own
khăn cho
rise.
hay
It
còn
will
mi
be the
hiên
fall of
ở
the
rồi
Titans,
máy quay
but
đồng
it
bay
will be
đâu
the rise of the Avalanche. Snow, always the bridesmaid, never the bride at these sorts of events. Voldemar's going to take a little bit of damage here. The Kraken's pushing in. Team Secret looking for the defense. Bastion on that turret, pushing it down. Mowgli steps forward once again with the point company. Kraken about 3/4 HP. Kavalathar needs to back away from this because otherwise Voldemar will take him so low so quickly. The Kraken's still pushing in half HP. Palmator looking for it as well, seeing if he can get that forward barrage down. The Esther forced the cord. The Crucible comes out. Kate to stick off towards the side, looking for the turret. Death from above will Kate down that Kraken quickly, and it's not
mà
going to get
sẽ
too
sửa lên
tight.
cái
Big,
phần bộ
but
bạn
Team
mà
Secret,
nó
but
ban
Kate
lên
is
rồi
going to jump in.
rồi
Down
cho
the
hết
turret.
ô
Kavalafar's low.
có Sky họ sáng lên flip lọt toán rồi mấy còn mấy chop lại cái mắt game nữa mấy người sân chia đấu nè mày ngóc chop game nó chop thằng năm một quật thì flip lọt man luôn
Avalanche. That was close to
Chào
being
anh,
an
sẽ
opportunity
đồng
for Team
bằng
Secret
cái
to turn
sao
around,
thì
but
là
they
tầm
played
mũi
it perfectly. Avalanche having the discipline we've been talking about this series. At times it's looked lacking, but right now they are on form. They're in the zone. They know how big a deal this would be if they take down Team Secret from challengers to champions. That could be the story of Snow Avalanche this season. Bastion
Mà
Walking
từ
forward a
đây
little bit here. He knew the minion mine
Snow
was going
bộc lộ
down.
nữa.
Avalanche has a very complete picture of what Team Secret's trying to do. They just need to find one more good fight. That's all it would take.
They may be in the zone, but time after time, we've heard Kavalapar say, speaking of opponents
Dân
they're
chẳng mơ.
expected to beat, it's not over until the
Chỉ mới
vein
CQ là phòng
explodes.
suy giống fan.
There's still a crystal turret up here for Team
Mà-
Secret.
mà-
It's
mà
a
kháng thần
dangerous
bốc chấu hay
zone
là
to
kháng
be
cái
in for
thần
Snow
bốc?
Avalanche. Until you take that crystal down, you have to continue to pressure. You have to continue to push. You have to continue to take away the jungle, the objectives, the minion mines, the gold. You have to deny Team Secret any opportunity of getting back into this best of five.
My biggest concern for Team Secret right now is that I think they need more time than maybe they have. They've been spending a lot of money on infusions and not putting
Sky
that
có
towards
điểm
more
khổ
items. You
mình
just see
đang
another
buộc
one
là
from
muối.
Kavalapar, for example.
Ban HG
He's
hay
sitting
có
at
bữa hay
Serpent's
ở
Mask, Breaking
block
Point, and
2
Aegis with the tier 3 boots. But he kind of needs like one more big defensive item to deal with Waldemar, or he needs one more big offensive item if he wants to, play it risky. Palmatoro, he's got Frostburn, Broken Myth, and an
Con
infusion.
quả fan
Like,
với
the
cái đá
Aegis is
trang gọi
great,
dễ bật trang gọi cho tiếp.
but this isn't
Bảo
going to
vệ
be the
trước
kind of damage
lại.
numbers we are expecting from a Sky at 18 minutes,
Không, cái
nearly
này team rồi.
19 minutes. Team Secret, oh man, they gotta be stressing. I know I am. Snow Avalanche, look at this. Look at what they're trying to do here. They might actually just portal over the wall. It's possible.
They're looking
Ồ,
for it.
xấu.
Moby's going for the engage.
Dạ,
There's
lừa
the
lại đấy.
Voldemort.
Ây da,
Voldemort towards the
phía
side,
phía
but the
banh
active
với
counter
Ghost
comes
Man
down.
học cho
The
Sky.
captain connects onto
Sky
Palmatoro.
banh chọc.
Force the corner.
Che tranh máu.
Palmatoro
Ok
needs to
banh
get
rồi
out of
đó.
this one if he's gonna
Ok
survive.
phía banh. Ok
Palmatoro
bạch
survives.
Sky
Palmatoro
bắn.
with the
Cho
side.
rồi nè kiếm. Ồ.
Palmatoro is dead.
Ây da,
Team Secret hang
rồi
on,
nè.
looking for the kill,
Ồ.
but can't stick by
Cái kia phía banh chưa. Ây da. Ồ, one shot one kill. Thôi ok ok. Ồ. Chào mời. Chọc phía phía đọc base stack á. Kiếm chỗ khó. Dạ tích phía phía đọc base stack á. Mở lại. Đồ nè tới tiền hả. Oh shit. Quẹt ra đi. Phía phía stack bông quên nhớ. Rona cháu là ngon rồi.
Oh my
Look at this fight once again, guys.
That was so close. I mean, Palmatoro, the key for me here is that, okay, yes, he didn't actually get the Aegis off in order to survive the Yummy Catnip Frenzy, but he did manage to get some damage down.
Nhưng
in
mà
the
con
last
bé là
couple
dân
of
chẳng
fights,
mới được
he
giết
has
kịp khiến
not
cho
really
Airline nào.
This let
Lại có con
Kavalapar clean
ban
up.
Airline
I
nào.
do think Mowgli probably should have exited here. Maybe he was just trying to be the sacrificial lamb for Kavalapar. Well, just run up and then towards lane. I mean, you're tanky, right?
The problem is
Khiến
if you
sao
run
mà
up
nhất
towards
phải
lane,
hai
you
gì
lead him towards Kavalapar.
Bây giờ gỗ
Kavalapar
được.
jumps
Nó
over
này.
the wall.
Đi rồi
Yeah, I
bây giờ.
guess he can. I guess
Mới
he
mở
can,
lại.
but
Ồ.
2 for 2
Ở đây.
trade is the
Ở tên
answer
vợ
on the
Crack
cards.
Moon.
Kraken, however,
Ok, Crack
is
khăn
the
đón với.
choice here for Snow Avalanche.
far away.
They're
chào
too
anh
far
đón,
away. It's only
chào.
one crystal. This is going to be a
Secret.
Kraken for Snow Avalanche, and with one final push, they'll look to break the crystal. They'll look to take
Mau
the
rồi.
game.
I think Team
Oh,
Secret
no,
needs to
it's
try and catch Snow
Chạy
rotating.
bò
They're
Right
going
now.
for it now.
They can't let
Quay
Kraken
lại
get
nha,
anywhere
quay
near
lại
the
nha,
base. They
quát
have to
bộ
fight
sân quát
very
quay
far
nữa
out.
rồi
Problem
trái
is
ngọc
everything
chân
Bishop
mèo bay
fight.
nó
They have
quay
enough
mà
turrets
chán
to
tận
get
chán
through.
cô
It
ấy
all comes down
phải
to
có
this
cái
one.
có drop đổ ná tròn nó đã là gì nè mũi bây giờ phỏng thân ôi nhưng đổ ná cái chân cái gặp mai cho được có sao quay lại đá phần ra phía bây giờ đổ ná gì nè chứ lại đổ ná lại chọc lại một lại nó dễ nó chọc lại nữa oh my god. Cua shot sai này là secret. Chào bay chào. Snow got lên man rồi này. Yeah, sao? Oh, Snow. Lực kiên kìa.
Look at how happy they look. Snow Avalanche, a team that
Chọc lại
wasn't
secret.
even in the Evil 8 during the first split of the season, managed to move all the way through the Challenger Series into split
Snow got
2
bốc man lỗ này
into
lên mày.
third
Phần
seed.
bốc lên kìa. Bốc hồi thì nó quay nói to bay nữa.
Take down so many incredible teams back to back to back, finalizing it with Team Secret. Sona, this is the end of an era, at least for now. Secret, maybe they come back in the future.
Yeah,
But
lực
Snow
kiên rồi.
Avalanche, they want to pick up their trophy. Guys, make some noise for your champions.
Chắc là anh ấy sang này kia này click vào đây nơi anh ấy để chuyển hôn đấy cũng đến nên click vào đây ở nơi EU ở ở Snow
And it's Team Snow Avalanche
chào mừng Secret
taking the win.
cái những cái tập cục có thứ ba lỗi của Secret còn lên ra thứ này
Summer Live Championship champions, European champions, they take down Team Secret. Commiserations to them, of course, played an amazing series. But Snow Avalanche are
Nơi
your
solo
victors
mid
today.
nơi anh ấy hay nơi yếu nơi đột nắng cứ nơi đột nó ban được Snow nó giờ đúng Snipe giá buổi xí cái con mai đang sẽ mau lo về khi đó đi boss lại ngối mà mở hàm con lại ấy lại tí đôi chân mạng con này.
Just a few moments, Forecourt's going to have some words with the members of Snow Avalanche, your European champions. Man, Sona, any final words before we pass it off?
Just what a series that was. What a weekend of action we have had. It has been absolutely amazing. Such a pleasure to cast for you all. And from AJ and me, let's hand it over to Forecourt Jester.
Well, we're going to let Bashan sleep on the trophy here for just a moment. Congratulations, guys. You did it. You defeated the undefeatable. You are now the reigning champions here in Europe. What is going through your mind?
Just wow. We're so happy.
See, now Bashan said you got to do all this, but he's screaming at me here. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He said it's easy. It looked far from easy, but something that you did a lot was Scarf. Tell us, why did Scarf come back into this?
Secrets dying more.
Scarf is just do a lot of damage. Best Scarf you.
I mean, he did
Thấy
a lot
mình
of
đang
damage
trai
in
kia không?
your
Chờ
hands.
mơ
You
đi chuyện
guys
mà.
seem to do this better than most. But you
Yeah,
also
con
came
đang.
through the Challenger
Yeah,
Series.
nay,
You
nay,
got here. It's
everyone
a
đây,
very
đây.
long road. You got in your wall to car.
Thế
You went
sao
really
cho đó
far,
Snow hay
and now
cho
you're a
luôn không
world
sai đó
star.
Secret
Like,
không?
what do you have to say to your
Còn
fans
không
out there?
thần tăng bị đau mau đại tránh ở một ba sự buồn Snow nhưng nhóm xong sẽ nó tới cứ Secret nó có top nơi không phải kit A hay ở Snow này top nơi không phải kit B còn top nó một ba hay là không phải nó đó tranh Snow nó lại cái nhưng cách khác của quát mà mơ nước thì mặt khi gặp hạng hai mới là còn hạng gặp nơi hàng ở Snow này còn lên nồi chiên hay mang muối có một early game mang môn dịch hay cái bên mình quay bản buổi mình tới tranh mặt sáng buổi con nhà point cho mẹ cứ ở mấy tuần pi đã khi cái vật thật không mà khi ở đó còn là ở tranh nơi khỏi cuộc hẹn sửa tính bài học phái lại khang lá sửa trong khỏi tranh gì bà dân thì nhà bà cuộc xóa và dân slide bao nhiêu cái hạng hai thế mình không nghe mảng vì khác game với tranh thoảng tập mode nó được thời hero chúng ta mà phiêu quá khăn cái đi bộ bạn đường tập mode nâng một đôi đầu ta những gì lên rồi giờ phần tham được tập mode này ta thời hero không phải hay một cái phần tham được nghe ở early game một mid game một late game này chẳng game nên là nó nói là online cái on đất là có mới rất khó nó là Snow Việt ha một early game hai cái này nó gì đó lúc bất lần chọn một ai chơi chân hay đây ở đây để chọn đi.
This is an Amazon coin, and it's the start of something big. Did you know that Amazon coins can get you games, apps, and in-app items at super discounts every day of the year? Amazon coins. Save big and play on. Amazon coins can be used in games and apps from the Amazon Underground app on Android devices and Amazon App Store on Fire tablets and Fire TV.
The Snow Avalanche, and with one secret team.
Look at how